Chapter 1798. Clang, 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 clang. The tip of the spear exploded with a bright light, and a terrifying energy surged on Du Xiaofu's chest. Suddenly, there was the sound of metal colliding. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, in that inconceivable moment, Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings wrapped in front of him, protecting his chest. With the wings crossed in front of his chest, the rock golden wings exploded with golden light. The immortal Xian body, the great success divine body, and the rock golden wings with the feathers of the true rock. With such a defense, Du Xiaofu directly blocked Li Qinfa's spear. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, Du Xiaofu's body was sent flying by the huge impact of the rune spear, shattering the space. He was fiercely pushed back by the spear, flying in the void. What a terrifying defense! Unbelievable! Many people present had seen Du Xiaofu's terrifying defense in the Divine Dominion, but they were still shocked at this moment. Even old Lei and old Huang's eyes became more and more turbulent. "Little bastard, how long can you block?" Li Qinfa sneered, his face ferocious. Du Xiaofu destroyed his foundation and future, and also destroyed the foundation of legalism. How could he not be angry and resentful? "You're still a little short. You can't hurt me," Du Xiaofu sneered. As his figure was pushed back, a cold smile appeared on his face. His eyes were shining with a bright purple gold light, and his black hair was scattered with electric arcs. He was like a real demon king. Boom! Boom! In an instant, Du Xiaofu shook his arm, and a green light burst out from his palm. The illusory saber formation swept out, and hundreds of saber lights rushed into the sky, filling the void. There was a total of 8,888 saber lights. Together with the 8 trigrams, with the 9 palaces and 6 directions as the foundation, the pitch-black saber lights were filled with a heart-palpitating light and instantly enveloped Li Qinfa. Du Xiaofu did not dodge. He had his own plans. Otherwise, with Du Xiaofu's current speed, it wouldn't have been impossible for him to dodge Li Qinfa's spear. Back when he fought Li Qinfa's Essence Soul Avatar, Du Xiaofu had only activated about 6,000 to 7,000 saber arrays. During this period of time, as Du Xiaofu continued to improve, his control of the illusionary saber formation also became stronger. Swish, swish. Blade after blade cut through the void and connected with each other, crushing the void. Wind and thunder clanged. What a strange attack! Is it an artifact or a formation? There was no lack of people with extraordinary eyesight. At this moment, they were unable to recognize the origin of this saber formation and exclaimed inwardly. Swish, 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 swish. The saber formation enveloped Li Qinfa, and it instantly moved like a bolt of lightning. Li Qinfa's face sank, and he had no choice but to release Du Xiaofu. A strand of dazzling light surged out to resist the saber lights. The spear lights erupted and actually resisted the saber formation. However, Li Qinfa seemed to have suddenly become slightly flustered. If it was anyone else, they might have won cheers. After all, Du Xiaofu's attack had been too swift, and it was clearly cunning and vicious. An ordinary person would have probably fallen for it. Besides that, Du Xiaofu's name as the Demon King had shaken the world a long time ago, and he had far surpassed his peers. However, Li Qinfa just happened to be an old monster who had cultivated for a few thousand years. Moreover, he was the ancestor of legalism, and he was even at the peak of the overlord realm. So, he seemed to be in a sorry state. He was unable to do anything to Du Xiaofu, and he was even forced to become flustered. Bastard! The Tao of legalism is boundless and merciless. Li Qinfa was finally unable to endure being in such a fluster. He roared loudly as countless rays of light erupted from the dazzling spear in his hand. It carried a terrifying aura as it shattered space and blasted the illusory saber formation away. Bang! At the same time, a strand of dazzling light charged out from behind Li Qinfa. It seemed to carry a dense mist, and it illuminated space like a miracle. It revealed a vast, dignified, and solemn aura. A terrifying aura resonated with the heavens and the earth. In a short instant, the light behind Li Qinfa surged into the sky while accompanied by phenomena. There were ferocious birds soaring into the sky, enormous beasts soaring through the sky, and stars arranged themselves. His aura erupted like a volcano, and it shook the sky. Rumble! At this moment, space was surging while the sound of wind and thunder resounded, and it caused others to be unable to stand steadily and almost go limp. A dazzling spear floated in space. At this moment, the talisman markings on it were dazzling and suffused with light. It was like countless dense and boundless rays of light were hanging in space. They descended from the 9 heavens, drowned out space, and converged into heavenly punishment. Wrath of the heavenly laws, heavenly punishment. Li Chunfa roared loudly. The 3 laws of heaven, earth, and man were using their full strength to activate the strongest wrath of the heavenly laws. Boundless rays of light erupted from Li Chunfa, and they swept towards Du Xiaofu like a surging wave. Swish! 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 Boundless rays of light filled space and drowned out the sky. It was impossible to see anything except for the dazzling rays of light that were like bolts of lightning. Bang! 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 The surrounding space and the ground below instantly started to crack and shatter. A vast and irresistible punishment aura swept out, and it caused others to feel a sense of guilt and desire to be punished. Under such power, the spectating experts also sucked in a breath of cold air and felt their hair stand on end. The pressure is too strong. The weaker experts trembled in fear and were on the verge of collapsing to the ground. With such strength, there were probably not many peak experts at the Overlord realm who could resist it head-on. Rumble! The heavenly punishment descended. Countless rays of light flashed, causing space to blur, the world to tremble, space to distort, and the sky to be on the verge of splitting apart. At this moment, Du Xiaofu stood in the air with an icy cold gaze. Arcs of violet gold lightning flowed in all directions, and the ancient talismans around him immediately rippled when the rays of light descended from above. It was also at this moment that an 8-trigram diagram appeared in the air around Du Xiaofu. Boom! Boom! In an instant, space trembled. The 8-trigram diagrams connected in all directions, and they were like dazzling halos that swept into the distance. A boundless might instantly descended upon the square. Thump! Thump! As soon as the 8-trigram diagram appeared, the rays of light that covered the sky were abruptly pushed aside. Roar! In an instant, a myriad of beasts howled, lightning flashed, mountains moved, wind and rain alternated, mountains and rivers appeared, the sun, moon, and stars changed, and the violet flame demon phoenix, grass of immortality, and nether insight grass appeared as well. Li Chunfa's expression instantly changed when the 8-trigram diagram appeared. His countless rays of light were blocked outside the strange diagram, and then they were dispersed by the ancient talismans. They were utterly unable to enter the strange diagram, and it was even spreading towards him. Elder Lei, Elder Huang, and many others were shocked as well. All of them had seen Du Xiaofu utilize this strange force in the God domain, but they were able to sense an aura that made all living beings tremble from within the strange diagram when they personally experienced it now. The aura was boundlessly vast, and it had suddenly descended into the depths of the souls of all living beings in the world. Such a vast aura was something that had never been seen before in the world. He was covered in azure spirit armor while the rock wings on his back flapped, and golden light erupted. At this moment, Du Xiaofu stepped on top of the 8-trigram diagram. Rays of light overflowed into the sky, and purple-gold lightning wrapped around him. It was like a miracle, how domineering and shocking. Li Chunfa's primordial spirit avatar had come into contact with Du Xiaofu's 8-trigram diagram, and his eyes were twitching at this moment. Li Chunfa originally thought that as long as they were in the outside world, he would be able to kill this kid in front of him on the spot. However, after exchanging blows, Li Chunfa became more and more alarmed. Du Xiaofu's cultivation was at the half-step nirvana realm, but this kid's strength was too terrifying. No wonder Han Yingma and Qin Wudi died in this kid's hands. However, Li Chunfa was definitely not weak. At this moment, even Du Xiaofu's 8-trigram diagram could not spread to his side. This was enough to prove his strength. In an instant, the talisman runes around Li Chunfa's body also erupted, turning into a world in an instant. Rumble. In the next moment, as the world trembled, the universe began to revolve around Li Chunfa. Mountains and rivers moved, and the sun, moon, and stars appeared. That terrifying power shook the universe. The heavenly Tao is far, but the human Tao is far. Li Chunfa stood in the void, looking incomparably majestic. He gathered the momentum like a supreme being looking down on the world. When the last word fell, he waved his hand, and that world immediately collapsed and pressed towards Du Xiaofu's 8-trigram diagram. Li Chunfa used all his strength. This was the Tao of legalism, combining the power of spells. The momentum was formed naturally, and the Tao of legalism was boundless. The ancestor is using all his strength. At this moment, almost all the experts of legalism could not calm down. These experts knew that Li Chunfa had suffered a huge injury from a primordial spirit avatar in the space of the divine dominion, which had affected some of his strength. However, at this moment, Li Chunfa still needed to use all his strength to deal with Du Xiaofu. This was enough to prove how powerful Du Xiaofu was. At this rate of growth, it would not be long before that kid would not just stay at the door, but directly kill his way into legalism. The ancestor is using all his strength. That demon king is dead for sure. The ancestor's cultivation is sky-high, and he has cultivated for thousands of years. No matter how strong Du Xiaofu is, he can't resist at this moment. The ancestor's fusion of the power of spells is too vast. It's not something we can deal with. The disciples of legalism trembled. Li Chunfa had used all his strength, and that terrifying power was in the sky. How could Du Xiaofu resist that demon king? How could a kid who had cultivated for less than 30 years compare to the ancestor who had cultivated for thousands of years? The power of legalism spells and Du Xiaofu's 8-trigram diagram collided fiercely. Chapter 1799. How could a kid who had cultivated for less than 30 years compare to a grand ancestor who had cultivated for thousands of years? Legalism's Dharma power and Du Xiaofu's 8-trigrams void diagram collided fiercely. However, this collision did not cause any explosion under everyone's trembling eyes. Everyone could see with their naked eyes that the attacks of the two were like two parallel worlds overlapping and slowly merging. Finally, the attacks of the two overlapped like two parallel worlds. Li Chunfa and Du Xiaofu stood apart from each other, with only a distance of 100 feet between them. However, at this moment, in the void around them, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The shadows of thousands of beasts jumped and roared. Stars rotated. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared in the sky, leaving everyone dumbfounded. However, at this moment, the surrounding void was densely packed with space cracks like a spider web. The pitch-black light made people's hearts palpitate. The space was constantly wriggling and twisting, as if the entire void would explode at any time. Coo-coo, that terrifying power made everyone speechless. That kind of terrifying pressure distorted the heaven and earth, and the pressure was unparalleled. At this moment, except for a few people present, everyone felt that their bodies were unable to move. They were frozen in place, and it was difficult for them to even speak. The two terrifying attacks overlapped, and there was an intense invisible force that crushed the entire space. They were the first to bear the brunt, and they could not resist. The pressure was too terrifying. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. They knew very well that once the two terrifying attacks exploded, the void and the earth would undoubtedly collapse. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as strange phenomena appeared in the sky. However, at this moment, the two figures in the sky were exceptionally dazzling, causing people to feel intimidated when they looked at them. They were like two gods, and their auras could crush everything. Who would dare to fight against them? Little bastard, you are very strong, but this is the end of it. Young people call themselves kings, but you are still too immature. This is a premature death. Li Chunfa said with indifference and majesty. His aura was natural, and his words at this moment, coupled with his indifferent tone, spread out in the void. It was like the waves of the ocean, and it made people tremble and tremble. Old dog, you are old but not dead. You deserve to die. This is the punishment of the heavens. Du Xiaofu spoke. His voice was like heavenly thunder, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. But Li Chunfa didn't say anything else. He didn't want to waste any more time. The original resplendent energy rune spear shot out from his body. It seemed as if it had pierced out from another world as it shot towards Du Xiaofu. Boom! Suddenly, Du Xiaofu waved his hand, and a small 8 trigrams pattern appeared in his palm and slammed towards the runic spear. The 8 trigrams pattern in his palm collided with the tip of the spear, and in an instant, the runic runes of the 8 trigrams erupted, filling the air and shaking the entire area. Chi-la-la! In just an instant, the palm and the spear collided, but the surrounding void was instantly shattered. A large number of broken runes swept out in all directions, and the distant space exploded above everyone's heads. They have gathered all of their strength into one spear and one palm. This is an all-out battle. They have all used their full strength. Elder Lei stared at the sky with lightning flashing in his eyes. Elder Huang raised his eyebrows and murmured, "Is it over? Why can't I see through it? Why can't I deduce the result?" Ka. At this moment, cracks spread out in the void around Du Xiaofu and Li Chunfa, with their feet as the center. Rumble! Rumble! In the end, the void shattered. It was as if the sky was collapsing. The pitch-black cracks spread out, accompanied by the flickering of runes. Rumble! Terrifying energy swept out, and cracks spread across the plains. Boulders exploded, and the ground trembled. The entire world rumbled, and the earth shook and collapsed. This terrifying scene made all of the creatures here shiver inwardly, their fine hairs standing on end. Rumble! At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky, as if a series of thunderclaps were exploding. The void was resplendent and blazing, and the destructive power was natural as it spread out from the sky. Wherever such a terrifying attack passed, the void turned into nothingness, and cracks appeared in the space. Such a scene made people tremble in fear and their hair stand on end. That terrifying pressure and energy caused all living beings to tremble in fear. Heaven and earth trembled, and the void collapsed. A large patch of pitch-black vacuum was revealed, but it quickly recovered. In an instant, everything disappeared, and Du Xiaofu appeared. His eyes were glowing with golden light, and his face was pale. Blood was dripping from his palm, and there was a bloody hole. Even the blue spirit armor on Du Xiaofu's palm was penetrated, and pale golden blood was flowing out. The corner of Du Xiaofu's mouth was also bleeding. The blood landed on the feather scales of the azure spirit armor on his chest, making the azure spirit armor even more dazzling. Li Chunfa appeared, and his face was also very pale. A muffled groan came from his throat, and a sweet taste welled up in his mouth, but he forced himself to hold it back. Du Xiaofu has lost. I knew Du Xiaofu would not be a match for him. No matter what, he would not be a match for the patriarch. The legalist disciple was overjoyed. His gloominess seemed to have been swept away, and he felt like he had been exhaled. Li Chunfa is at the peak of the master domain realm, and he has cultivated for thousands of years. He cannot be underestimated. In the desolate country's lineup, Yi Wuming, Zhen Qingchun, and the others were also moved. Li Chunfa was indeed powerful. My father has not lost yet. At the very least, my father still has the purple lightning profound cauldron. That old man did not gain any advantage. Little Star was very calm, and there was a sense of dominance. It's not over yet. Du Xiaoyao's eyes glowed, and she was also very calm. In the void, Li Chunfa stared at Du Xiaofu. He had used all his strength, but he had only managed to hit Du Xiaofu. This made him feel unbearably shocked. Little bastard, you have lost. Li Chunfa spoke, and his eyes were filled with coldness. You did not gain much advantage, did you? Is this all you've got at the peak of the master domain realm? Du Xiaofu licked the blood from the corner of his mouth. Purple arcs of lightning crackled in his palm, and the bloody hole and shattered azure spirit armor healed at the same time. He looked directly at Li Chunfa, still domineering. I forgot that you still have the divine lightning cauldron. Did you want to rely on the divine lightning cauldron? Li Chunfa spoke indifferently. There was a slight fluctuation in the depths of his eyes, and there seemed to be some kind of joy. You'll know once you try. Du Xiaofu smiled coldly. Li Chenfa's gaze silently swept across the surroundings, and it swept past Elder Lei. He did not want to waste any more time, and he did not want any unforeseen changes. Boom, boom. Suddenly, an extraordinary tremor appeared in the void. Mysterious runes seeped out, and the world had already fallen into darkness at some unknown time. The darkness was so deep that it made one feel like they were about to be devoured, and it made one's origin spirit tremble. At this moment, a figure shone like the sun in the middle of the void. Quick, look! Someone cried out in surprise. Everyone looked over and saw that the light was coming from Du Xiaofu. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was in the sky, and there was an invisible aura around him that resonated with the void. The light that filled the air was like a purple gold sun, dazzling and gorgeous, like a god that shocked the world. Give up, abandon, and fight to live. Clear everything and walk on a path that belongs to him. He's going to use his true strength. Boom. At this moment, Emo Tianxiao's eyes were filled with green light and ripples. He knew that he was finally going to use his full strength. Alright then, let's end it. When he finished speaking, Li Chenfa's face darkened. A chilling killing intent swept through the air, and his killing intent climbed to the peak. At this moment, Li Chenfa's body was also shining brightly. Runes spread out in the sky, and it was as if a world had appeared behind him, shaking the surrounding void and causing it to tremble violently. Li Chenfa did not expect that the brat still had a last resort. He felt that the aura was not to be underestimated. He had to end this quickly. Cosmic form. Roar. With a thunderous shout, Li Chenfa activated his attack, causing the void to distort and turn into an ancient light seal that appeared in the void. It descended from the 9 heavens with a terrifying power and directly slammed onto Du Xiaofu. This was the ultimate move of legalism. Everyone's cosmic form was different, but when Li Chenfa used it, the terrifying power caused the heaven and earth to change. The surrounding space cracked open, and the energy caused the heaven and earth to tremble violently. Then the sky collapsed and the void exploded, revealing a terrifying power. The surrounding people watched, and their hearts trembled. Even their origin spirits were trembling. This was a power that could destroy the heaven and earth. It was crushing down, and it was unstoppable. Li Chenfa, that old bastard, is going for the kill. Many people in the desolate countries line up cursed, but under that terrifying power, they could not help but circulate their qi to resist, and they even trembled. Chapter 1800. As the cosmic form collapsed, the dazzling light behind Du Xiaofu turned into a halo in the sky. When the divine halo appeared in the sky, the purple gold thunder rock, the 8 trigrams diagram, the star's ultimacy, the grass of immortality, the purple flame demonic phoenix's beast energy, the dark penetrating grass, countless beast energies, and the lightning ultimacy all fused together and turned into a strange phenomenon in the sky. A vast heavenly might permeated the air. Boom! However, this heavenly might was not as powerful as the nirvana of a minor sovereign, grand sovereign, or complete nirvana of a grand sovereign. This kind of heavenly might was not loud, but it invisibly made the living beings present hesitate. When they faced Du Xiaofu again, it was as if they were facing a god, and they had a feeling of wanting to bow down and worship him. Du Xiaofu, who was in the sky, was now enveloped by the divine light of the divine halos. This was the fusion of 9 divine flame-like divine halos into a single divine halo, causing the sky to be filled with divine clouds and a kind of sacred radiance. At this moment, all the living beings could feel the terrifying divine might emanating from Du Xiaofu's body. It was as if a new world had been opened. Du Xiaofu is a nirvana of a grand sovereign. How did his 9 divine halos turn into one? What kind of nirvana is this? All the disciples of the legalism school and even the experts of the desolate country, as well as the living beings who were watching the battle from afar, were all shocked when they saw Du Xiaofu, who was like a god, in the strange phenomenon in the sky. They had never seen such a strange phenomenon before. The symbol of the 9 divine halos had turned into one. It was an exceptionally dazzling one, and it carried a divine might that no one could ignore. Bang, bang, bang. Some of the living beings with lower cultivation levels directly went weak in the knees and prostrated themselves before the divine might. They could not resist such a terrifying pressure at all. Even if it was a cultivator at the region realm, their legs felt weak at this moment, and their bodies were on the verge of going limp. They utilized all sorts of abilities and treasures before they were barely able to resist it. This is a new kind of nirvana. It should be a nirvana that belongs to him. Elder Lay opened his mouth and clenched his fists tightly. Lightning flickered in his eyes, shining brightly. The lightning arcs were resplendent, and they seemed to have begun to tremble. This is the Rock Emperor's true strength. Let's shock these poor people. The Thunderhawk King sneered. He had personally witnessed such a rebirth. That was because the purple-robed young man had been in the light screen for more than 10 years. He had fought again and again, challenged his limits, broke his own limits, and finally defeated himself. He had to fight to survive and be reborn from nirvana. Only then could he achieve such nirvana. The Rock Emperor said that this is boundless nirvana. King Miameng's eyes glowed with divine light. She had witnessed with her own eyes that he had challenged his limits time and time again, killing until the sky turned dark. Ordinary people would not be able to endure it, and their souls would be indescribably tormented. However, the purple-robed youth had succeeded. He had given up on the great circle of the supreme nirvana. With his ferocity and great perseverance, he had achieved the immeasurable nirvana. Walala, everything took a long time to describe, but the speed was as fast as lightning. Divine rings were exceptionally resplendent and radiant, bursting with brilliance like the sun rising from the east. It had also unknowingly blocked the attacks of Li Chunfa's cosmic form, causing it to slow down in the void. Within the divine rings, Du Xiaofu blended with it in the air. He was sacred and inviolable. The surging aura around him was like a waterfall. From afar, it was extremely dazzling, giving people the feeling that the heavens and earth had just been born. Above the purple-gold thunder rock, the starry river fluctuated, and the 8 trigrams appeared in the sky. It was as if a new world was being born. 9 by 9 returned to 1. 1 is the Tao, the ignorance, the chaos, and also the immeasurable. Break for me. When those words were spoken, Du Xiaofu formed a seal with his hands. Wind and thunder rumbled in the void around him. The vast plains rumbled, and the void rippled. Even the legalists in the void tunnel were shaking and the tides were rising. Boom! In the next second, an immeasurable amount of nirvana power swept across the area, as if a new world had been opened up. It emitted an aura that could not be challenged, causing countless strange phenomena to descend from the void, sweeping in all directions and directly crushing Li Chunfa's cosmic form. Rumble! Such a collision erupted in an instant, and bright runes appeared in the surroundings. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and the aura covered the heavens and earth. Bang, 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 even the void was exploding. The muffled sound of the explosion caused people's hearts to tremble and their souls to palpitate. Walala, light shone brightly in the void, twisting the void and locking time. Large cracks in the void hung in the sky. The space was in chaos, and almost no one could see clearly. The blinding light made it impossible for living beings to look directly at it. Creak! But in the terrifying energy, someone saw Li Chunfa's cosmic form being shattered, destroyed by the purple-gold thunder rock and countless silver-gold lightning bolts. Poof! Amidst the flashes of lightning and the roars of beasts, a series of strange phenomena slammed heavily into the space around Li Chunfa, causing him to spit out blood. His old figure was sent flying while coughing up blood. Go to hell! How could Du Xiaofu let go of this opportunity to take his life while he was down? The moment Li Chunfa's body was sent flying, his eyes were filled with killing intent. The golden peng wings on his back emitted a blinding golden light. Amidst the flowing runes, an overwhelming pressure erupted. In an instant, 36 dazzling feathers wrapped in golden light emerged from the great peng's unfurled golden wings. These were 36 true rock feathers. They were definitely superior to the true dragon horn and true dragon claw of the dragon clan. Swish, 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 36 feathers wrapped in golden light flew out and transformed into 36 lightning spears. Resplendent light like lightning interweaved with each other, and a large illusory image of the golden-winged rock appeared. They instantly shot towards Li Chunfa. At the same time, two bright objects flew out from Du Xiaofu's body, emitting a dazzling light. The roar of a dragon resounded, and a supreme dragon aura spread out. These were two dragon horns. They were like deer antlers, strong and boundless, bright and dazzling, and dragon aura surged. These were the two horns of the true dragon that Du Xiaofu had obtained in the space of the divine dominion, and he had already taken them for himself. After such a long time, with the help of the Imperial Palace's dragon aura, Du Xiaofu had already suppressed and refined the true dragon's horns. As the human emperor, he had the Imperial Palace's dragon aura, so he could activate them. Roar! The two true dragon horns were activated, but they didn't transform into two huge dragons. Instead, they fused together to form a huge golden dragon phantom. Dragons might spread out, and its aura crushed the heaven and earth. Its aura was so terrifying that it could cover the heavens and earth. What a strong dragon aura! Roar! Such a terrifying dragon aura shocked all the creatures present. Even the beast souls of the beasts trembled, and some demonic beasts roared and prostrated themselves. Roar! The dragon's roar filled the sky, and the huge phantom of the golden dragon instantly surged up, with a huge pressure quietly spreading out. Along with the 36 feathers of the true rock, it also pounced on Li Chunfa. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever the phantom of the golden dragon passed, it seemed to cause the heaven and earth in this space to tremble. Accompanied by a mysterious force, it caused the space to collapse inch by inch and the pitch-black space to be torn apart. The 36 feathers of the true rock and a pair of true dragon's horns. Du Xiaofu chose to use them at this moment, because he wanted to completely kill Li Chunfa. 36 terrifying auras swept over, and the phantom of a golden dragon descended from the sky. Li Chunfa, who was flying backward and vomiting blood, was shocked, and his eyes changed color. Roar! It was too fast. Du Xiaofu was going for the kill. The 36 feathers of the true rock and the phantom of the golden dragon drowned Li Chunfa with a domineering and destructive force. You've brought great trouble to the school of legalism. Juniors like you should be contributing to the school of legalism. In front of the legalism formation, Old Man Huang spoke very loudly. His eyes were filled with mixed emotions. After watching for a long time, he was more and more shocked. Such a tall man in a purple robe, even in ancient times, would be among the supreme talents of ancient times, looking down on everyone. Yet now, such a junior was absolutely irreconcilable with the school of legalism, causing the school of legalism to suffer heavy losses one after another. This is too dangerous. As if in response to old Huang's words, a cold glint flashed across the old honorable master's eyes. The frightening power that Du Xiaofu unleashed at the end came from Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu was actually able to suppress the old honorable master even though they were separated by space. In fact, Du Xiaofu was even able to injure old ancestor Li Chunfa. In an instant, space began to explode where the 36 feathers of the true rock and the phantom of the golden dragon drowned out. Accompanied by the roar of the rock and the roar of the dragon, the sound waves rippled out violently and stirred up the dark clouds. Bang, 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 the sky exploded. The sound wasn't loud, but it overturned space, and the entire region was drowned out by runes. A terrifyingly domineering and destructive power filled the air. That terrifying energy was like a huge wave in the ocean that soared into the sky. Then, it poured down in an overwhelming manner, as if covering the entire world. Elder Lei and Elder Huang didn't move, but their expressions changed. Perhaps they never thought that such a terrifying attack would come from Du Xiaofu. Let alone an ordinary domain realm expert, even an ordinary overlord realm expert wouldn't be able to resist it. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu was only at the quasi-rebirth realm of rebirth, so he would be at the peak of the overlord realm just like Li Chunfa. In other words, he was at the peak of the overlord realm, the eternal rebirth realm. So, even an ancestor of the legalism school like Li Chunfa would probably be instantly annihilated by him. Oh my god, that's too terrifying. This kind of power made people dumbstruck and their minds tremble. Can Li Chunfa still resist? Will he really be killed by the Demon King, Du Xiaofu? A dense crowd of spectators had gathered in the distance. At this moment, all of them were dumbfounded as they stared into the distance. Everyone was waiting for the result. Would Li Chunfa be able to withstand it? Chapter 1801. The ancestor will not be defeated. In the legalism camp, many elders and young disciples clenched their fists. They firmly believed that their ancestor would not be defeated by Du Xiaofu. That was their ancestor. How could he be defeated by the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, so easily? However, at this moment, the old lord of the legalism camp, the current lord of the supremacy camp, and a few elders and protectors with extraordinary status all looked more solemn than the last. With their eyesight, they naturally knew that Du Xiaofu had used his own strength just now, and it was already so powerful. This made their hearts tremble even more intensely. This was especially true for the old lord. He originally wanted to kill Du Xiaofu, but after seeing Du Xiaofu's terrifying strength, he could not help but feel extremely conflicted. Especially under Du Xiaofu's divine might at the end, he had already felt a deep sense of danger from the bottom of his heart. If he had been the one facing such an attack just now, he might have been able to rely on some means to survive, but the prerequisite was that he would have had to pay an absolutely heavy price. Countless eyes were looking at the void. In the void that was flooded with runes, ripples of energy were rippling. Crack. Suddenly, under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, a small fluctuation began to spread out. The sound was not loud, but most of the people present were powerhouses. They immediately felt it and looked towards the source of the sound. Swish. Swish, under the gazes of everyone, a bright light appeared in the void, revealing a banner that was several feet in size, emitting a dazzling light. When the powerhouses in the legalism camp saw the banner, they all clenched their fists in a daze. Their pupils constricted, and they looked at each other in dismay. Then they fixed their eyes on the banner, and their bodies trembled secretly. When the banner appeared, it bloomed with light, and the shadows of the sun, moon, and stars rotated on it. The energy of heaven and earth fluctuated, and the invisible aura caused everyone's heart to palpitate. At this moment, all the weapons in the people's bodies began to tremble for no reason, as if they were about to rush out and worship the banner. The power of such a banner was too terrifying. When they saw the banner, Elder Lei and Du Tingshuan's expressions changed. However, at this moment, the old sovereign of legalism and the sovereign of the current era smiled when they recognized the flag. The patriarch has brought the Law Saint flag with him. That brat is dead for sure. Many legalism experts clenched their fists in excitement, as if they had been injected with a cardiac stimulant. That banner is extraordinary. It has traces of a formation, but it's not a formation. That thing seems to be very powerful. Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and Mo Tianxiao, and the others were also slightly stunned at this moment. They all felt that the banner's aura was extraordinary. Walala, the banner wrapped around Li Chunfa. As the banner fluttered, the stars spun, energy rippled, and light erupted, resisting the 36 true rock feathers and true dragon horns. Hee, little bastard, you have the true dragon horns of the dragons and the true rock feathers of the golden-winged rock race, but it's still not enough. Li Chunfa's cold voice rang out. The banner unfurled, and light shone brightly. His figure rapidly rose into the air, revealing a cold smile. At this moment, Li Chunfa's heart was filled with resentment and anger. He actually couldn't resist just now. If he hadn't been prepared, he would have paid a heavy price just now. I hate it. Deep in his heart, Li Chunfa was incomparably resentful. If not for the fact that his primordial spirit had been destroyed in the space of the divine domain and he had suffered such a heavy injury, he would have been able to withstand it. Although it seemed like he had almost recovered, only he knew that compared to before, his strength had been greatly affected. Li Chunfa snorted coldly and waved the resplendent banner in his hand. It expanded in the wind, and light erupted, bringing with it an incomparably terrifying phenomenon. It immediately swept towards the 36 true rock feathers and the pile of true dragon horns. Now, Li Chunfa wanted to take the true rock feathers and true dragon horns for himself. Whoosh! This banner was too terrifying. In an instant, it was like a curtain of light that covered the void, as if the Milky Way had descended from the 9 heavens. The resplendent light poured down, crushing the 36 true rock feathers and the pile of true dragon horns. With a crushing momentum, it wanted to imprison them within. Not good. Du Xiaofu also stared at the banner, and he knew that things were not good. The true rock feathers and true dragon horns were being imprisoned, affecting the connection between their primordial spirits. Du Xiaofu definitely couldn't let anything happen to treasures like the true rock feathers and true dragon horns. However, the power of the strange banner carried traces of a great formation, and it also carried a terrifying ancient aura. It was as if it was dyed with the aura of an ancient fiend god. It was incomparably vast and difficult to resist. Use the treasure. The foundation of our legalism is not something that a desolate country can compare to. The experts of legalism trembled. They knew best what the banner of the law saint represented. It was a taboo sacred item of legalism, and it was impossible to bring it out of the legalism. It was a precious treasure of the clan. However, under the premise that the experts of the saint realm could not make a move, in order to deal with Du Xiaofu, Patriarch Li Chunfa used such a sacred item. This was the foundation of legalism, and it was enough to kill Du Xiaofu. The strength of our legalism is not something that ordinary people can understand. The disciples of legalism trembled and began to get excited again. Legalism still has such a treasure. The disciples of the desolate country began to feel nervous for Du Xiaofu. The power of such a banner was too terrifying. Collect! Li Chunfa's cold shout resounded through the void. The banner waved, and it was as if a boundless cloud of light was surging. It imprisoned the 36 true rock feathers and the pair of true dragon horns and was about to sweep them away. You can't take them away, right? Du Xiaofu looked directly at Li Chunfa, and his eyes were like a sea of thunder. When his voice fell, the entire void suddenly spread out a strange aura. In the palm of his right hand, a purple arc of lightning suddenly rotated. Boom! Boom! As the purple arc of lightning appeared, the space began to tremble violently. In an instant, an extremely dangerous feeling accompanied by a huge aura that made one's heart palpitate suddenly swept out. All the living beings present suddenly felt an absolute sense of palpitation. Boom! In a short moment, as the void trembled, the purple arc of lightning in Du Xiaofu's palm turned into a huge 3-legged cauldron that was dozens of feet in size and covered with mysterious lightning runes. This was the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. At this time, Du Xiaofu could only use his full strength and use the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. Divine Thunder Cauldron, Demon King Du Xiaofu is going to use the Divine Thunder Cauldron. When the 3-legged cauldron appeared, the eyes of many experts of legalism suddenly changed, and all of them were suddenly filled with shock. This kid really brought the Divine Thunder Cauldron. The old lord, the current lord, and the others were secretly trembling at this moment. Not only was the Divine Thunder Cauldron terrifying, but it was also left behind by that expert. For the 9 great families, it had a different meaning. When the 9 cauldrons were gathered, they could command the 9 great families. If Du Xiaofu gathered the 9 cauldrons, then legalism would not know where to go. Buzz, countless people's eyes changed. In the void, Du Xiaofu did not delay at all. The Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron rotated, and the surrounding purple thunder clouds surged endlessly. The vast sky was filled with thunder and lightning, and it swept towards the banner. He finally used the Divine Thunder Cauldron. At this moment, when Li Chunfa saw the Divine Thunder Cauldron, he was not shocked. Instead, he was happy, and a hint of greed quietly flashed across his eyes. Li Chunfa had taken a huge risk to bring out the Magic Saint flag. He had originally come to suppress Du Xiaofu's Divine Thunder Cauldron, and he also wanted the Divine Thunder Cauldron to fall into legalism. When he fought with Du Xiaofu, he was wary of Du Xiaofu having a heaven-defying treasure that could blow up Qin Tianchu's body. The magic saint flag in his hand was the real trump card. This was the entrance to legalism. Li Chunfa was fully prepared. Today, he must kill this disaster and take down a treasure like the Divine Thunder Cauldron. The Divine Thunder Cauldron's power is unparalleled, but without the 9 cauldrons gathered, it still depends on who is activating it. Try my legalism's magic saint flag. Seeing the Divine Thunder Cauldron sweeping over, Li Chunfa sneered. The magic saint flag spread out in all directions, and a huge wave appeared in the void. It was like a vast sea of clouds in the sky, covering the void that was getting larger and larger. Above the void, all kinds of strange phenomena appeared. The stars rotated, and the energy of heaven and earth surged. Rumble. Du Xiaofu activated the purple thunder cauldron with all his might. Terrifying purple lightning enveloped heaven and earth, and a monstrous destructive aura spread out from the purple thunderclouds. Destructive energy waves spread out from the purple lightning, and the surrounding space cracked inch by inch as the electric light spread out. However, at this moment, such a terrifying destructive power was blocked by the magic saint flag. Elder Lei, do you know the origin of the magic saint flag? Du Tingxian stared at the void, feeling any changes in the terrifying battle. At this moment, he frowned slightly, and his expression began to turn serious. Looking at the flag that spread out in the void in front of him, Elder Lei's eyes darkened slightly and he said, I have heard of the magic saint flag from my old master, but he only mentioned it unintentionally. It is said that it was left behind by the ancestor of legalism, and it is a treasure among treasures of legalism. But now, it seems that the power of the magic saint flag has not been fully activated. It seems to be restricted or affected by some kind of power. However, judging from the power that Li Chunfa is activating now, it is already extremely close to the power of the Saint Realm. I'm afraid that even if I go up personally, I can only barely escape and will have to pay a price. Chapter 1802. Upon hearing that, Du Tingxuan's expression became even more solemn. Even Elder Lei, who was a half-sage, felt that he could only pay a price to escape. He could not help but become more and more worried. Kid, activating the Divine Thunder Cauldron requires a lot of energy, right? You've almost used up all your energy. The Divine Thunder Cauldron can change owners, and you can die prematurely. Li Chunfa sneered and activated the Wizarding Saint flag to continuously suppress the purple thunder cauldron. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared in the sky, accompanied by the release of the ancient aura. It was as if an ancient battlefield had crossed time and space to descend, causing the living beings to tremble in fear. However, it was obvious that the purple thunder cauldron was definitely not easy to suppress. It was filled with destructive thunder power, and purple thunderclouds surged. Electric arcs gathered into purple thunderbolts that suddenly rushed out, and dazzling purple electric arcs poured down. Rumble. Countless purple thunderbolts descended from the sky and densely surrounded the surrounding space, directly colliding with the Wizarding Saint flag. Coo! Such a terrifying thunder power shocked all the living beings present. They all felt a chill spread from the bottom of their hearts, and their souls trembled. However, as Li Chunfa had said, activating the Divine Thunder Cauldron required a lot of energy, and activating the Green Spirit Armor also required a lot of energy. After fighting for so long, no matter how huge the Divine Watchtower on Du Xiaofu's body was and how vast his celestial chi was, he was already starting to feel tired at this moment. The Purple Thunder Cauldron and the Wizarding Saint flag kept colliding and fell into a stalemate. Neither of them could gain an advantage and shattered the void. However, it was obvious that Du Xiaofu's energy consumption was greater, and his face was getting paler. After a while, Du Xiaofu's green spirit armor was also withdrawn. TSK, how much longer can you last? Although Li Chunfa's face was also pale, it seemed to be very easy for him to activate the Wizarding Saint flag at this moment. It was as if he did not need to consume too much energy. A cold smile appeared in his eyes, and he stared at Du Xiaofu gloomily. Is the result finally going to be decided? At this moment, everyone could feel that Du Xiaofu would not be able to hold on for long in such a stalemate. Hey, what is Du Xiaofu doing? Suddenly, a legalism expert cried out in alarm. At this moment, everyone saw an incomparably strange scene. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was actually controlling the purple lightning profound cauldron after putting away that abnormal protective armor. He stepped across the void step by step and directly faced Li Chunfa head-on. Rumble! The purple thunder profound cauldron and the warlock saint flag collided head-on. Runes were released resplendently, and electric arcs spread out like a vast ocean. The sky was filled with muffled sounds. However, at this moment, without the green spirit armor, Du Xiaofu's body also exploded with purple electric arcs. He activated his thunder martial veins and used the purple thunder profound cauldron to forcefully collide with the Dharma saint flag. But after a few steps, Du Xiaofu found it harder and harder, and blood began to flow from the corner of his mouth again. Du Xiaofu knows that he can't hold on for much longer. He doesn't want to waste time with the patriarch. He wants to force a fight. An old man in legalism spoke in a deep voice. He had seen through Du Xiaofu's intentions. If this continues, he will also consume more energy. He is courting death. A middle-aged legalism expert's eyes were filled with divine light, and his expression was gloomy and disdainful. If he forcefully resisted like this, he would also be exhausted. He was courting death. Carrying the purple thunder profound cauldron, Du Xiaofu walked closer and closer. Under the huge crushing force, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of pale golden blood. His body, which was wrapped in purple electric arcs, also had traces of cracks. However, Du Xiaofu didn't retreat. He allowed his body to crack and spit out blood. He still used the purple thunder profound cauldron to forcefully approach and continuously resist the Dharma saint flag. The purple thunder profound cauldron's purple lightning covered the sky and covered the earth. The talisman runes were resplendent and intertwined. The Dharma saint flag had a strange phenomenon in the sky. It was as if heaven and earth were collapsing and the void was collapsing. Bang, bang, bang. Every time such a collision occurred, the plains below would break and the ravines would collapse. How shocking the scene was! Gulp, gulp. This scene made the surrounding people's throats dry up and they couldn't stop sucking in cold air. This guy's body is cracking. That's because of the crushing force of that strange flag. He still wants to continue resisting. What is this guy trying to do? Many people were dumbfounded and dumbfounded. Rock Emperor, hold on. Brother Xiaofu, hold on. President can definitely do it. In the Desolate Country's lineup, Guiche, Du Hao, Diu, the silver-winged demonic condor, and Xiao Yu all clenched their fists as their bodies trembled. Du Xiaofu was still in the air, unmoved. The golden rock wings on his back were helping him resist the recoil of the huge crushing force. The thunder martial vein was also absorbing the purple gold Xian thunder. His cracked body was recovering rapidly, but it was obvious that the cracking speed was faster, and it was still forcing its way closer. Rumble! The purple thunder profound cauldron spun, and purple thunderclouds rolled in the surroundings. The destructive thunder and lightning that made people's hearts palpitate spread out and continuously collided with the Dharma saint flag. Bang, bang, bang. Such a collision caused the void to rumble, and the void to tremble violently. Endless thunder and lightning erupted. Runes shone brightly, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. The heavenly thunder did not stop, and it shook one's soul. Du Xiaofu kept vomiting blood. The more he used the purple thunder profound cauldron to forcefully resist the Dharma saint flag, the greater the crushing force he suffered. Li Chunfa was also not feeling well at this moment. The terrifying purple gold profound lightning from the purple thunder profound cauldron swept across the Dharma saint flag, and it also affected him greatly. However, his situation was much better than Du Xiaofu's. You're courting death. Li Chunfa looked at Du Xiaofu, who was constantly moving across the sky, and sneered. With the Dharma saint flag in front of him like a sea of clouds, he was safe and sound. Du Xiaofu could not even think of getting close to him. If he forcefully resisted, it would only cause the former to consume more energy and suffer a faster backlash. Is that so? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, and a cold smile appeared on his face. A silver-gold stream of light swept out from between his eyebrows, and a silver-gold thunderbolt exploded. The body of the red-bone horse monkey, whose primordial spirit and meridian soul had merged into one, appeared in the void. Roar! The body of the red-bone horse monkey rippled with silver-gold electric arcs, and it was filled with the aura of a supreme being. It was like a god roaring at the sky. Its aura was like the beginning of the world, and the beginning of all things. When the red-bone horse monkey appeared, the aura of 4 types of spiritual thunder soared into the sky. Rumble! As fast as lightning, the red-bone horse monkey pounced out, but in an instant, it turned into a huge phantom of the 5-finger mountain. The phantom of the 5-finger mountain burst out with a string of golden light, like fireworks, causing the void to be dazzling, as if it could suppress thousands of demons. Rumble! The void exploded like a heavy hammer. The 5-finger mountain rotated, and a terrifying power rippled, causing the entire plane to rumble and crack. It was as if the universe was about to be turned upside down. Rumble! The golden 5-finger mountain swept out, accompanied by the purple thunder profound cauldron, and the 4 types of spiritual thunder and the power to suppress all things, suppressing the magic saint flag. Suddenly, with the addition of the 4 types of spiritual thunder and the purple thunder profound cauldron, the magic saint flag was caught off guard and was instantly suppressed. The purple thunder profound cauldron and the golden 5-finger mountain occupied the void, and endless thunder and lightning descended from the 9 heavens, affecting the magic saint flag with an incomparably domineering and destructive force. At this moment, Li Chunfa's expression changed. Li Chunfa did not expect this scene. He did not expect that Du Xiaofu would still be able to use such a method at this time. Little bastard, you're courting death. You're courting death. However, at this moment, Li Chunfa was not shocked, but happy. Using 4 types of spiritual thunder would only exhaust Du Xiaofu more and more. At that time, he would be dead for sure. Is that so? Then let's see who will die in the end. Do you think that with that lousy flag, I can't kill you? Du Xiaofu's cold smile did not disappear. As he spoke, he shook his arm and flicked his finger. A scarlet ball wrapped in purple electric arcs suddenly swept out. Chi-la! The scarlet ball turned into a blurry purple and scarlet shadow. Like lightning, it passed through the influence of the magic saint flag and swept directly toward Li Chunfa. This was the Roaring Flames bomb, the last Roaring Flames bomb on Du Xiaofu's body. In the space of the Divine Dominion, Du Xiaofu had obtained 3 Roaring Flames bombs from the Lords of the 3,000 Worlds. At this moment, this was the last one. Du Xiaofu wanted to get close to Li Chunfa, but not to risk his life. He just wanted to use the Roaring Flames bomb. No matter what, he had to kill Li Chunfa today. When the space of the Divine Dominion opened that day, Li Chunfa had gone to the desolate country. Fortunately, Elder Lei had been there. After that, Li Chunfa had even used his primordial spirit avatar to enter the space of the Divine Dominion to deal with him. This made Du Xiaofu want to kill Li Chunfa. Originally, Du Xiaofu wanted to keep this last Roaring Flames bomb for self-defense. However, if he could kill Li Chunfa, Du Xiaofu would not feel that this last Roaring Flames bomb was a waste. Boom! Boom! As the Roaring Flames bomb shot out, a blazing destructive energy instantly filled the void. There were also purple gold Xian thunders instantly exploding. In the void, purple electric arcs crisscrossed and covered the sky. Oh no, it must be that treasure. In the space of legalism, many elders were shocked. The expressions of the old supremacies and the current supremacies changed. They had originally guessed that Du Xiaofu might not have a second treasure like that. Otherwise, he would have killed his way into the space of legalism long ago. They had been secretly guarding against Du Xiaofu. However, they had not expected that Du Xiaofu would really take out another one at the last moment. Although they did not know what this treasure was, they knew very well that it had blown Patriarch Qin Tianwei's physical body to smithereens. According to Patriarch Qin Tianwei's primordial spirit, no living being under the Sage Realm would be able to resist such a terrifying treasure. When the Roaring Flames bomb shot out, Elder Huang's expression changed immediately. The blazing aura and lightning aura made him feel absolute fear and danger. Oh no! This kid still has that kind of treasure. However, at this moment, The one who was the most shocked was Li Chunfa. He had also been on guard the entire time. When he saw that Du Xiaofu had put his life on the line and was seriously injured, he was even more certain that Du Xiaofu did not have any more of that treasure on him. However, Li Chunfa had just let down his guard. He did not expect that Du Xiaofu would take out another one. That was a terrifying item that had shattered Qin Tianwei's physical body. How could he dare to be the slightest bit careless? The scarlet afterimage covered in purple electric arcs rushed over violently, bringing with it a blazing and violent destructive energy. It made Li Chunfa feel a sudden chill in his heart for no reason. Even someone as powerful as him was trembling in the depths of his primordial spirit for no reason. He was terrified and uneasy. Bastard, Li Chunfa cursed, but he had no choice but to use all his strength to activate the Wizarding Saint flag to block it. He had already been seriously injured by Du Xiaofu and did not have much strength to block it. However, at this moment, the Wizarding Saint flag was suppressed by the Five-Finger Mountain. The 4 types of spiritual lightning and the purple lightning profound cauldron descended endless lightning. It was difficult for them to escape and protect Li Chunfa. Chapter 1803. The blazing thunder bullets swept through the air, but under Li Chunfa's full power, the Wizarding Saint flag enveloped Li Chunfa. At the same time, the blazing thunder bullet exploded in the air like an atomic bomb. A shocking explosion of thunder suddenly resounded in the sky like a thunderous roar. Bang! 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 The air exploded, revealing a pitch-black space. Pitch-black space cracks hung in the sky like a spider web. Walala! Monstrous flames and monstrous purple electric arcs swept out in all directions. The space was chaotic and vision was blurred. The entire sky plane below was also collapsing like an earthquake. Goo goo! Such a shocking scene shocked everyone in the distance, and they were speechless. Legalism's current supremacy, the old supremacy, and other legalism experts were also shocked. No wonder Patriarch Qin Tianshir's physical body was shattered. Such a treasure was a great killing weapon. Who below the saint stage could resist it? The destructive and blazing thunder energy exploded, and terrifying energy ripples surged, destroying everything. It also shook the Wizarding Saint flag, the purple lightning profound cauldron, and the Five-Finger Mountain phantom. The terrifying energy caused a huge pitch-black hole to appear in the sky. In a short time, the terrifying energy was swallowed by the black hole-like void. Rumble! The Five-Finger Mountain phantom and the huge purple lightning profound cauldron rotated, releasing unparalleled thunder and lightning, blocking the Wizarding Saint flag, preventing it from approaching. The Wizarding Saint flag was also greatly affected by the impact of the blazing thunder bullet. At this moment, it was suppressed by the Five-Finger Mountain phantom and the purple lightning profound cauldron, and it was increasingly difficult to break free. Walala! The energy in the sky dissipated, and Li Chunfa's figure appeared in the sky. However, at this moment, Li Chunfa's eyes were dull, and he had lost his original spirit. The light on his body dimmed, and the blazing aura of the purple-gold profound lightning overflowed. That was the aura left behind by the blazing thunderbullet. Puff! Suddenly, Li Chunfa opened his mouth and spat out mouthfuls of blood. At the very last moment, the Warlock Saint flag still managed to protect Li Chunfa by more than half. However, when that terrifying power exploded, Li Chunfa was still severely injured. GG. In an instant, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. Above Peng Ming and Long Yu's bodies, there were suddenly 38 bright rays of light in the air. Under a domineering and destructive power, they turned into 38 bolts of lightning. They were very close to Li Chunfa, who was spitting out large mouthfuls of blood, like thousands of arrows piercing through the heart. Qila! 38 beams of light. They were the 36 true Peng feathers and 2 true dragon horns that Li Chunfa had bound. At this moment, they were like 38 war spears, dazzling and frightening. 38 terrifying auras instantly attacked Li Chunfa's body. At this moment, Li Chunfa's pupils constricted and his face was ashen. Perhaps for Li Chunfa, he would never have thought that he would end up with such a result after bringing the Warlock Saint flag out. The 36 true Peng feathers and a pair of true dragon horns pierced into Li Chunfa. At this moment, Li Chunfa was like a rabbit that had been hunted down by numerous sharp arrows. He floated in the air like a hedgehog. These were not ordinary arrows, but 36 true peng feathers and a pair of true dragon horns. This scene made everyone's eyes dull and tremble. They were so shocked that they could not speak. "Even if I die, I won't let you go, you little bastard. I will get rid of you for legalism. Legalism's orthodoxy will not be destroyed." Everything happened in the blink of an eye. After being stunned for a moment, the hedgehog-like Li Chunfa's lifeless and pale face suddenly revealed a ferocious smile. His dull eyes turned cold and ferocious. Without any hesitation, he formed a series of strange hand seals and the aura around him soared once again. This aura was much stronger than when Li Chunfa was at his peak. It was incomparably close to the Saint Realm. He's going to self-destruct. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed, and then his face sank. The old man knew that he would not be able to escape death after being hit by 36 true peng feathers and a pair of true dragon horns, so he had actually chosen to self-destruct. If a peak overlord realm cultivator self-destructed, their strength would increase tremendously, and it would probably be incomparably close to the Saint Realm. Without any hesitation, the golden peng wings on Du Xiaofu's back flapped. The peng wings soared into the sky as he used the unfettered steps. The 36 true peng feathers and a pair of true dragon horns shot out rapidly. At the same time, Du Xiaofu retreated rapidly. He wanted to escape into the purple lightning profound cauldron. "You can't escape, little bastard." However, the distance between them was too close. Li Chunfa used his last breath, and his aura rose to the peak. His entire body was already faintly visible, and there were even spatial cracks that caused one's heart to palpitate appearing around his body at this moment. The moment Du Xiaofu retreated, Li Chunfa's swollen body suddenly exploded as well. A shocking sonic boom reverberated through the air. Li Chunfa's body suddenly erupted with dazzling light under everyone's gazes. Talismans shot into the sky and exploded like fireworks. Everyone's eyes were instantly filled with shock and horror. Bang bang bang. With Li Chunfa's exploding body as the center, it was like a world had exploded. Destructive energy rippled out in all directions as it shone with dazzling light. A tremendous force expanded outwards, instantly drowning Du Xiaofu, who was retreating rapidly. Even if the self-destruction of an expert like Li Chunfa couldn't compare to the blazing flames exalted incineration bomb, it definitely wouldn't be much weaker. The entire space exploded, and a series of spatial cracks spread across the sky. These weren't spatial rifts. Instead, they were spatial rifts that had materialized. They revealed a pitch-black, terrifying light. Such a destructive force poured out directly onto Du Xiaofu's body. Even with the immortal Xian body and the great success divine body, Du Xiaofu still suffered a heavy blow. His flesh was really cracking, and his internal organs were shattering. Under the blurry gaze of some experts, Du Xiaofu's body was also cracking at the last moment. Then, it was blasted into pieces and turned into a pale golden blood mist that filled the sky. At the same time, even the phantom of the golden five-fingered mountain was hit by some kind of impact. It turned into silver-gold electric arcs that blotted out the sky and earth. In an instant, it dissipated into the void and disappeared. At this moment, the purple thunder profound cauldron and the warlock saint flag also seemed to have lost their fingerprints. They stood at a distance and instinctively confronted each other, but they didn't fight again. Not good. Such a scene made Du Xiaoqing, Dai Xingyu, Du Yunlong, Thunderhawk King, Du Xiaoman, Yi Wuming, Zhen Qingchun, Gui Che, and the others turn pale with fright. All of them wanted to rush out. Ouyang Shuang, Yi Zijin, and the others also turned pale with fright. Their delicate faces changed drastically. "Back off. It's not something you can affect," Du Xiaoyao said. She waved her sleeves and a golden rune surged out, blocking everyone. Her spirit eyes were filled with waves. At this moment, she was also staring at the void with rapt attention. "No, father won't be hit so easily." Little Xingxing looked at the void in front of her. The third eye between her brows emitted a light, and the hem of her starry dress was filled with radiance. It sounded long, but in fact, it happened in an instant. All the shocking movements stopped abruptly. The whole place was silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the void. At this moment, other than the divine lightning cauldron and the shrunken legalist Saint Flag, the void was calm. Li Chunfa was such a super expert. He was one of the patriarchs of legalism. In the current world, his cultivation was enough to rank him among the top experts. In the entire world, not many people could be compared to him. However, back in the divine realm, Du Xiaofu had destroyed one of Li Chunfa's primordial spirit clones, causing him to be severely injured. At this moment, everyone saw that Li Chunfa was forced to self-destruct. There was no doubt that he would definitely die. There was no suspense. Such a powerful patriarch of legalism was killed by Du Xiaofu. As for Du Xiaofu, he was pulled by Li Chunfa in the end. He was also buried in the former's self-destruction. Everyone also saw it. In the end, the patriarch chose to self-destruct. Even his primordial spirit was not willing to escape. He wanted to eliminate the huge threat of legalism. A legalism youth spoke. His body was agitated, and his eyes were filled with tears. Du Xiaofu is really dead. It's impossible for him to come back to life. The patriarch used his own body as the price to eliminate the huge threat of legalism. He took revenge for the many supreme experts and geniuses of legalism. A middle-aged man of legalism had tears in his eyes. Patriarch Li Chunfa sacrificed everything for legalism and our legalism orthodoxy. A legalism elder spoke. His body was trembling. Then he knelt on the ground and announced his death. Patriarch, rest in peace. Legalism will forever remember that the patriarch killed a huge threat today. Patriarch, rest in peace. Immediately after, the densely packed disciples of legalism knelt on the ground and looked up at the void with reverence. Patriarch Li Chunfa's self-destruction had eliminated the demon king, Du Xiaofu. All the legalism disciples were shaken. The demon king, Du Xiaofu, had finally been eliminated. At this moment, all the legalism disciples felt as if they had been granted amnesty. As long as that demon king didn't die, he would be the legalism's nightmare. Sigh. Elder Huang sighed and didn't say anything. Exchanging the life of a legalism patriarch in exchange for the life of a junior who originally belonged to legalism and could contribute to the cause of legalism. At this moment, he didn't know whether he should be happy or sad. New master, I didn't have time to intervene. I'm ashamed. Elder Lei spoke to Du Tingxian. He looked at the void with guilt on his aged face. Such an extraordinary junior had been destroyed by Li Chunfa's self-destruction. In the end, it was already too late for him to intervene. Moreover, it would be difficult for him to intervene even if he wanted to. That half-step holy beast expert from legalism had been staring at him, just like how he was staring at the other party. Once either of them made any movements, they would immediately be stopped by the other party. This was an invisible tacit understanding. Neither of them could intervene. Even so, Elder Lei still felt guilty in his heart. He felt even more regret and heartache. If the old master had seen such a junior back then, he would have used all means to take him in and nurture him well. However, the heavens were jealous of heroic geniuses. Chapter 1804. No, my son will be fine. Du Tingxian stared at the void, his fists clenched tightly. His fingernails dug into his palms, causing blood to seep out. His sharp eyes were filled with conviction. Back in the divine dominion, he had seen with his own eyes that his son was still fine even after being blasted apart. Now, he would definitely be fine too. However, at this moment, above the void, there was a large blade made of green light, a pair of true dragon horns, 36 true rock feathers, and a broadsword that everyone recognized. That broadsword was the purple gold heavenly tower, the divine weapon of the demon king Du Xiaofu. It had once killed countless experts. There was even a round ball of light and a strange lightning lotus. This is the old master's 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. No wonder this brat's comprehension of the profound meaning of lightning surpasses others. Old Lei recognized the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. His eyes rippled violently. That was one of the 3 treasures that Jinlei Tensei carried with him. However, at this moment, these treasures seemed to have lost control, becoming ownerless objects. No one from legalism went up to fight for them. They were still staring at the void above. However, their gazes were filled with passion. Some of them secretly exchanged glances. Once they had the chance, they would not hold back anymore. Any one of those treasures was an absolute treasure, especially the divine thunder cauldron. It had already been targeted by many of the legalism's hidden auras. Has the Demon King Du Xiaofu really fallen? Far away in the void, many of the onlookers were stunned. The Demon King had created countless miracles and shocked the world. Could it be that he had really stopped at legalism? All of this happened in just a few minutes. Boom! Suddenly, a trembling sound rang out in the silent void. It was like a bolt of fierce thunder that had come out of nowhere. This trembling sound immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. Immediately, numerous gazes looked towards the void. They were bewildered as they searched everywhere for something. In the silent void, the remnants of broken runes flickered, and at this moment, some purple electric arcs began to overflow. And within this, one could feel an extremely terrifying aura. It was as if a sleeping ferocious rock was slowly awakening. There was also a familiar tyrannical aura that was awakening. Elder Lei and Elder Huang's expressions changed rapidly as they stared at the sky. Especially when he felt that familiar domineering aura, a hint of surprise flashed across Elder Lei's face. On the other hand, Old Huang was extremely shocked. The expression on his aged face changed greatly. It's his aura. When that familiar domineering aura spread out, Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, Du Xiaoqing, Zhen Qingchun, and Mo Tianxiao's eyes immediately flashed with unconcealable joy. It's the Rock Emperor's aura. He's not dead, he's definitely not dead. Thunderhawk King, Ghost Chariot, and the others were pleasantly surprised. Their bodies trembled. Just now, they didn't make too much noise because they had seen too many miracles. The Rock Emperor definitely wouldn't fall so easily. The Rock Emperor is still alive. When that familiar domineering aura spread out, it immediately caused an uproar in the desolate country's lineup. The entire school of legalism fell into an uproar because of this sudden change. Strange changes appeared on their faces. Ouyang Shuang was pleasantly surprised as she looked at the sky. The purple lightning arc was getting brighter and brighter. She could feel that the familiar aura was getting denser. Feeling that familiar aura and movement, Du Tingshuan's handsome face was also filled with excitement. What a terrifying aura! When that familiar aura spread out, that domineering aura grew stronger and stronger. It made Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, and the others' faces change as they had no choice but to retreat once again. Walala! Just as everyone retreated once again, the remnant runes in the sky flickered with golden light and golden blood appeared. It was a dense blood mist that didn't disperse. It was connected to the violet gold heavenly tower, the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian, and the others. A terrifying aura erupted like a volcano as it gushed out from it. In the end, it condensed together under everyone's shocked gazes. Boom! A sudden thunder shook the entire sky plains and spread throughout Kyushu. Even Kyushu could feel it. What happened? Is there a change in the world? Or has the great calamity of the world begun? Above Kyushu, many old figures appeared in the sky from various provinces. They were calculating something with their fingers. In the end, they raised their heads to look at the sky with astonishment in their eyes. Whoosh whoosh. Following that, many figures crossed the sky and headed towards the sky plains. Walala! On the sky plains, when the blood mist that didn't disperse gathered together, the bright purple lightning arc lit up the sky like a sun. Rumble! Suddenly, the sound of thunder was deafening. Above the sky, it was as if a sea of lightning had appeared. Lightning poured down like a long river and appeared in the sky continuously. A terrifying aura made all the living creatures' hair stand on end, and they were filled with endless respect. What the hell is going on? Everyone was shocked. They had never seen such a shocking scene before. The frightening lightning caused even Old Lei and Old Huang to feel fear. It was easy to imagine the pressure the others felt at this moment. That's Brother Xiaofu recovering. I can feel Brother Xiaofu's aura. In the Du family, Du Shui exclaimed. Her beautiful face was filled with excitement. Under the lightning aura, the thunder martial vein in her body involuntarily covered her. That's Brother Xiaofu's aura. Therefore, the disciples of the Du family covered their thunder martial veins. They were all very excited. In the long river of lightning, they could clearly feel the familiar aura. Crackle, lightning fluctuated. From the bright river of lightning, a tall and straight figure gradually appeared. His body was naked, but he was wrapped in bright lightning arcs. His naked body couldn't be seen. His black hair was wrapped in dazzling lightning arcs. His eyes were slightly closed as he looked at the sky. His face was resolute and determined. When such a figure appeared, although he was wrapped in lightning, he was clearly made of flesh and blood. Immediately, the faces of the disciples of the legalism froze. It's Du Xiaofu. He's not dead. In an instant, the disciples of the legalism school exclaimed and turned pale with fright. At this moment, such a man made of flesh and blood. If it wasn't Du Xiaofu who was just blasted into pieces, who else could it be? He had clearly just died to the point where he could not be any more dead. His body had been shattered, but now he had appeared before them alive. How could the disciples of legalism not be shocked by such a sight? It's Du Xiaofu. The demon king Du Xiaofu isn't dead. In the distant void, the spectators trembled as they witnessed this terrifying scene with their own eyes. But why isn't he dead yet? The elders, protectors, and experts of the legalism school were just rejoicing. Although they had lost ancestor Li Chunfa, they had finally killed a huge threat. However, at this moment, they couldn't accept such an unforeseen event. Could it be that he can't be killed? The young men of the legalism school turned pale and their scalps went numb. Such a demon king was too terrifying. He was simply a demon that couldn't be killed. Crackle. In the surrounding void, some of the experts of the domain realm on Kyushu school appeared in the sky plane. They all rushed over. What's going on? Legalism and the desolate country. Is that Du Xiaofu? In a short time, experts and old figures from all over Kyushu school rushed over and witnessed this unbelievable scene. They saw a tall and straight figure standing amidst the dazzling lightning in the long river of lightning. Demon King Du Xiaofu. It's really him. The eyes of the Kyushu experts were suffused with divine light. At this moment, they sensed that terrifying aura on the Demon King Du Xiaofu's body. Something must have happened. Boom, another thunderous boom rang out, causing the souls of all living beings to tremble. In the void, dense lightning filled the sky. With Du Xiaofu as the center, a void 8 trigrams diagram appeared. Divine might filled the sky as strange phenomena pervaded the air and transformed into a world of its own. Screech. The rock's cry pierced through the clouds and cracked stones. From behind Du Xiaofu, a purple-gold thunder rock emerged from the dazzling lightning arcs. It occupied the void, shaking the sky and covering the sun. The void collapsed as purple lightning intertwined. It was a terrifying scene. The purple-gold thunder rock was evolved from the profound meaning of thunder and lightning and the rock's beast energy. It was so powerful that living beings with insufficient cultivation couldn't resist it at all. Their legs went soft, and the beasts found it even harder to resist. They roared and crawled. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as the void surged. From between heaven and earth, the dazzling long river of lightning turned into endless energy and poured into Du Xiaofu's body. When the lightning fluctuations were irrigated, it was so dazzling that living beings couldn't open their eyes. It was extremely dazzling. On the void 8 trigrams diagram, all kinds of strange phenomena were born and changed. They were all nurturing endless changes. Mountains and rivers towered, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, ferocious beasts roared, ferocious birds soared into the sky, and galaxies rotated, endless pressure covered the sky and covered the earth, and runes drowned the void. Below the void, all the living beings' faces changed. Such a scene was too shocking and terrifying. Gee! On Du Xiaofu's back, the huge purple-gold thunder rock let out a cry, and the sound of it piercing through clouds and splitting rocks resounded. Chi-chi. Then, everyone saw the huge purple-gold thunder rock above the long river of lightning. Its eyes were like the sun, and the dazzling light was like lightning shooting into the sky. Countless lightning bolts connected with the purple-gold thunder rock, causing the void to distort. In the next instant, the huge body of the purple-gold thunder rock suddenly burst out with dazzling light, and an incomparably domineering aura spread out like a tide, sweeping across the void. As the mighty aura fluctuated, the tall youth wrapped in lightning opened his eyes at the same time in the long river of lightning. The gaze in his eyes was like the most dazzling lightning. His black hair fluttered in the wind, but it was wrapped in lightning. That tall and straight figure was a resolute and determined man. At this moment, he was like a holy celestial emperor. Step by step, he soared through the air and landed on the head of the purple-gold thunder rock. Chapter 1805. Then, the resolute and determined man's hair flew backward. His black hair slowly turned white and then it turned black. His face also aged and was covered with wrinkles. But soon after, it recovered and became smooth and sparkling again. Everything seemed to be alternating and going through reincarnation. However, with each cycle, the aura on his body grew stronger, becoming even more vast and vigorous. Whoosh! Such a man stood on the purple-gold thunder rock's head. Lightning flashed in the sky and the void churned violently. He was alternating between reincarnations and also devouring lightning. The scene was horrifying. Everyone was dumbstruck. This was the first time they had seen such a scene in their lives. Such a demon king was devouring lightning. He was undergoing an astonishing transformation. That's not lightning, that's the energy of heaven and earth. Someone whispered in shock. That terrifying aura pervaded the air. That huge purple-gold thunder rock was in the sky and suppressed all living things. It was as if a giant boulder was crushing down on their hearts. His aura is still strengthening. He's breaking through, someone said with a trembling gaze. At this moment, all the experts present had mixed feelings. That man was not very old. At most, he was not even 30 years old. However, they had cultivated for at least thousands of years, hundreds of years, or even thousands of years. But now, when they felt that kind of aura, their hearts were in turmoil. Such a junior is making his peers despair. He's making us ashamed. An old man said in the distance and sighed helplessly. Such a junior suppressed his peers until they couldn't raise their heads. Any genius compared to him was like a firefly competing with the moon. It was simply a tragedy compared to him. It was the greatest misfortune for the current generation's geniuses and supreme beings to be in the same generation as him. As for the older generation, when compared to him, they were even more ashamed, unable to show their faces. Boom! On the purple-gold thunder rock's head, Du Xiaofu's aura became more and more vigorous in a short period of time, causing the void to rumble. Endless energy of heaven and earth descended from the void as if pouring down from the 9 heavens. It turned into a resplendent lightning beam and enveloped Du Xiaofu. When the vast energy landed on Du Xiaofu's body, it caused the lightning wrapped around Du Xiaofu's body to tremble violently. The hair behind his head no longer changed and his face no longer aged. It seemed to be even more sparkling and translucent. Boom! At the same time, from Du Xiaofu's body, a new vast aura swept across the sky like a storm. Feeling the vastness of the aura, Elder Lei's eyes trembled. He took a deep breath and said with a slightly trembling voice, "This aura? It's reincarnation nirvana." Reincarnation nirvana. At this moment, all the experts and elders present were dumbfounded. The Rock Emperor is breaking through and stepping into reincarnation nirvana. In the desolate country, Yi Wuming, Gong Dao, and the other elders trembled in incomparable surprise. That's reincarnation nirvana? At this moment, to the people of legalism, their eyes twitched as the most incredulous expression appeared on their faces. How could they have imagined that not only did Du Xiaofu not die after the price of Patriarch Li Chunfa's self-detonation, but he had also broken through to the true reincarnation nirvana level and displayed his peerless glory. The nirvana supremacy stage was equivalent to the domain realm. However, Everyone knew that a true Nirvana sovereign was definitely not someone an ordinary domain realm cultivator could compare to. Since ancient times, the further a Nirvana sovereign reached, the more powerful and rare they were, and the more difficult it was to cultivate. However, any Nirvana sovereign was an absolutely terrifying existence that could sweep across their peers and conquer the world. Although at the beginning, everyone knew that Du Xiaofu was a half-step rebirth realm cultivator, now that he had stepped into the true Nirvana realm, it was like the difference between a half-saint and a true saint realm cultivator. There was a world of difference between them. Rock Emperor. In the desolate country's lineup, the experts trembled and their eyes were moist. How could their Rock Emperor be so easily defeated? At this moment, he had stepped into the true Nirvana realm and shocked Kyushu. How glorious was that! The purple-gold thunder rock spread its wings and a long river of lightning surged. Du Xiaofu stepped on the purple-gold thunder rock's head, which was surrounded by the beast energy of the golden-winged great rocks and the mysteries of lightning. He was calm and domineering, arrogant and confident. At this moment, his figure was as immovable as a mountain, and his radiance was boundless and shook the heavens. Everyone was shocked. Such a man was a freak of nature that could shock the world. All living beings in the world go through life and death. So, this is the cycle of reincarnation. Du Xiaofu spoke and shook his arm. The void 8 trigrams turned into ancient runes and disappeared into the void. The purple-gold thunder rock that covered the sky also slowly disappeared. As the void 8 trigrams and the purple-gold thunder rock disappeared, the terrifying pressure also quickly dissipated and no longer suppressed the hearts of the crowd. It's too scary. Many of the living beings stood up from the ground. Many of the demonic beasts and cultivators who were not strong enough had collapsed to the ground. At this moment, all of them still had lingering fears. As everything disappeared, the lightning radiance on Du Xiaofu's body also gradually faded. At the same time, a light purple robe appeared in his Qinkuan bag and covered his body. It did not allow his body to be exposed. In the end, the figure completely appeared in front of everyone, and his eyes regained their clarity. Phew! Du Xiaofu stretched slightly and spat out a mouthful of turbid air accompanied by electric arcs. Feeling the power and changes in his body, Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a smile. After being pulled in by Li Chunfa's self-destruction, Du Xiaofu was not too worried when his physical body was blown apart. His primordial spirit was fighting against the flag of the martial sage. With the immortal Shen body, he could recover. However, with the immortal Shen body, it was equivalent to suffering a heavy blow when his physical body was blown apart. He also had to pay a price. There was no free lunch in the world. And just as his physical body was blown apart, Du Xiaofu also felt an aura of death from the bottom of his heart. He went through life and death and touched death. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly had an epiphany and turned it into an opportunity. Du Xiaofu had always been at the half-step reincarnation nirvana level and was unable to break through to the next level. With this opportunity, he comprehended the reincarnation nirvana level and stepped into the next level, obtaining a great opportunity. If Li Chunfa knew that the price of his self-destruction was not only not killing Du Xiaofu in the end, but also turned into an opportunity for Du Xiaofu to break through to the true reincarnation nirvana level, he would rather be tortured to death than drag Du Xiaofu down with him. He broke through to the true reincarnation nirvana level. Looking at Du Xiaofu in the void, the eyes of the legalism disciples trembled. The Demon King Du Xiaofu was already so terrifying when he was only at the half-step reincarnation nirvana level. He was able to fight head-on with ancestor Li Chunfa. At this moment, the Demon King Du Xiaofu had already stepped into the true reincarnation nirvana level. The improvement in his strength had probably increased exponentially. How powerful would he be? Those at the same level of cultivation would not be a match for the Demon King at all. Du Xiaofu clenched his fists and felt the power that was as vast as the ocean in his body. Suddenly, his clear eyes stared at the Warlock Saint flag in the sky, which had been facing off against the purple thunder profound cauldron, and his body emitted a golden glow. This flag is not bad, Du Xiaofu spoke. On his resolute face, his eyes were deep and unfathomable. There wasn't the slightest ripple of emotion in them, but rather a formless aura of power. Finally, as his silhouette shot through the air, he shook his arm. In an instant, boundless golden light shot out, shaking the heavens and transforming into the rock's chaos-crushing claw. Du Xiaofu's claw distorted the entire void. In the golden radiance, there seemed to be a golden-winged rock whistling out. Everywhere it passed, pitch-black cracks appeared in the space, which then recovered. Reincarnation nirvana is so powerful. Such a claw caused huge waves to appear in Elder Huang's eyes. That claw caused waves to appear in his heart. In an instant, Du Xiaofu's claw pressed down on the Dharma Saint flag. The golden radiance covered the sky and distorted the void. Du Xiaofu wanted to imprison the Dharma Saint flag. A Dharma Saint flag that could confront the purple lightning profound cauldron was definitely a rare treasure. Boom! Suddenly, at this moment, the Warlock Saint's flag moved. In an instant, the flag unfurled, and a bright light shone. With the power of a strange phenomenon, the light covered the sun and collided with Du Xiaofu's claw. Chapter 1806. Boom! This kind of collision made one's soul tremble. Dazzling runes bloomed one after another, covering the void. Energy surged violently, as if the sky and earth were being turned upside down. Walala! The void cracked all around, and one after another, materialized spatial cracks hung in the sky, interweaving in the sky. Ka-ka! The plains below were cracking apart everywhere, forming a horrifying scene. How shocking was this? Legalism's disciples, return quickly. An old voice came from the void passage. This voice seemed to have come from ancient times, resounding above the void. Walala! The void passage that was originally revealed when the spatial wormhole exploded also began to slowly merge at this moment, beginning to isolate legalism's space from the outside world. It's the divine ancestor. The old man from legalism raised his head. That was the voice of their divine ancestor. It seemed that their divine ancestor had come out of seclusion, but they could only hear his voice and not see him. Quick, go back quickly. The current supremacy and the old supremacy spoke at the same time, ordering their disciples to return immediately. Once the space was blocked, they wouldn't be able to enter even if they wanted to. Legalism only had that one spatial wormhole to enter and exit. Now that the spatial wormhole was destroyed, the void passage was the only way. Whoosh whoosh! In an instant, the disciples of legalism turned around and hurriedly entered legalism, not daring to stay. Such a demon king was too terrifying. They couldn't kill him even if they wanted to, causing fear to grow in their hearts. Sage Realm! In the void, Du Xiaofu stepped on the air. The old voice came from the Sage Realm expert. He was the one who activated the Sage flag to stop his own collapse. Kill. Their Sage Realm experts don't dare to make a move. Don't let these bastards escape. Little Xingxing's young voice shouted loudly. Seeing the disciples of legalism retreat in panic, the little figure immediately soared into the sky. Golden flames spread out, burning the void and distorting space. If we don't kill them now, when will we? Du Xiaoyao also made his move. His golden clothes fluttered, his spirit eyes glowed, and his aura swept through the void. Boom! Zhen Qingchun didn't say anything. He directly activated the 6 wheels blood-killing array, and a monstrous blood aura spread out. Awu, Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, Niemeng King, Yun Zhan, and Gui Che roared and charged forward. Kill. Yi Piaoling, Du Yunlong, Ouyang Shuang, and Du Hao all stepped out and pounced towards the legalism disciples. They didn't want the legalism disciples to escape. Quick, go back. Looking at the desolate nation situation, the old man from legalism and the sovereign lords had lost their confidence to continue fighting. Han Aoshi had been severely injured, the patriarch of Li Chunfa had been killed, and Du Xiaofu had made another breakthrough. Legalism is inviolable. The old voice reverberated in the void. The Sorcerer Saint flag spread out and covered the void like a sea of clouds. In an instant, it blocked the path to the legalism void. Strange phenomena appeared in the sky as runes shone brightly. The Sorcerer Saint flag blocked all the attacks from the desolate country's experts with great power. Let go of my wife and daughter. Otherwise, I won't rest until I die. Du Tingxian made his move. Dazzling lightning radiance radiated outwards as a resplendent lightning armor instantly enveloped his body. Lightning radiance permeated the air as a misty energy swirled around him. His eyes were incomparably sharp as killing intent gushed out from them. Boom! Du Tingxian activated all the 9 divine rings of the Great Sovereign and the lightning martial vein. A dazzling lightning spear shot out from his hand. At this moment, the lightning runes, the Great Sovereign Force, and the lightning martial vein of the Du family intertwined together to form a spear light that shot towards the Sorcerer Saint flag in front of him. Boom! Boom! Du Tingxian waved his spear like a dragon soaring through the 4 seas. The wind and clouds changed, the void trembled, and heaven and earth lost their color. Strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Du Xiaoyao made his move. Golden light shone as he punched out. It was as if heaven and earth had been created. Little Xingxing punched out. Golden flames wrapped around his small fist. Wherever his fist passed, the space shattered inch by inch. Mo Tianxiao tore through the void with his claw. Spatial cracks filled the sky. At this moment, these terrifying attacks were all engulfed by the Warlock Saint flag. Whoosh! This kind of collision caused the void to become blurry. It was too terrifying. However, this terrifying attack was completely blocked by the Sorcerer Saint flag. Although everyone's attacks had overturned the Sorcerer Saint flag, they did not break through and were blocked by it. At some point in time, Elder Lei and Elder Huang had already collided with each other silently. However, the moment they collided, the void became blurry. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The void shattered, and the planes were torn apart. It was a shocking scene. The confrontation between the two of them seemed to break through the restrictions of the void. It was as if 2 ancient powerhouses had awakened and were fighting fiercely in the present world. Rumble! The purple lightning profound cauldron was activated. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A vast expanse of thunderclouds rolled in the sky. Bolts of lightning filled the palpitating lightning. The entire sky seemed to have instantly turned dark before dawn. A monstrous aura spread out from the purple thunderclouds. It rippled in this space, causing the entire space to tremble. Such a terrifying aura caused a chill to spread from the bottom of everyone's heart. In the face of this shocking lightning power, even their primordial spirits trembled. After Du Xiaofu had broken through, the power of the purple lightning profound cauldron had increased by several times. Rumble! Everything happened in an instant. As the purple thunderclouds churned, bolts of lightning suddenly burst out of the thunderclouds. Dazzling silver light poured down. Countless purple thunderbolts descended from the sky and blasted violently towards the Sorcerer Saint flag. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out from the purple thunderbolts. The surrounding space cracked inch by inch as the electric light filled the air. Crackle! The earth-shattering purple thunderbolts bombarded the Sorcerer Saint flag. The entire space was filled with sharp sonic booms. Wherever the thunderbolts passed, the space also collapsed with a loud bang, causing the Sorcerer Saint flag to retreat. Du Xiaofu exploded. He attacked with all his might, wanting to destroy the Sorcerer Saint flag. He wanted to leave the people of legalism behind and start a massacre. He wanted to force the legalism to hand over his mother and sister, Xiaojing. Legalism will remember all of this. It won't be long before you pay 10 times the price. Within the legalism, the old voice rippled, revealing an ice-cold intent. Crackle! The Sorcerer Saint flag exploded. Runes covered the sky and covered the earth. The stars rotated, and the shadows of beasts roared. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared in the sky. The purple lightning profound cauldron was also slowly shrinking. However, at this moment, the void within the legalism was also shrinking. When the last few figures rushed in panic, the void passage was only the size of a wormhole and was still shrinking. Aoshi, quickly retreat, the revered lord shouted, causing Han Aoshi, whose face was pale and whose vitality had not dissipated, to return to the legalism. Han Aoshi stood in the void, his face ashen. He had seen everything from before. From afar, he looked at Du Xiaofu, who was controlling the purple lightning profound cauldron to fight against the sorcerer Saint Flag. The corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile, and he said, Du Xiaofu, I misjudged you back then. But remember, even if you destroy legalism one day, you will not be able to destroy the orthodoxy of legalism. You will never be able to escape the fact that you also have the bloodline of legalism in your body. You still have my spiritual root of legalism in your body. You will never be able to escape, ha! His laughter was hollow, echoing amidst the thunder and lightning. The laughter stopped abruptly. The revered lord pulled Han Aoshi back to the legalism. Although the divine ancestor had come out of seclusion, at this moment, the experts of legalism all knew that the experts of the Saint Plane could not do anything. At this moment, the divine ancestor was only controlling the sorcerer Saint Flag to protect everyone as they entered the legalism. The old revered lord was at the back. When he looked back at the scene in front of him, his face was incomparably gloomy. The desolate country had killed their way to the door of legalism, but they could only retreat. With such an encounter, was legalism's luck really up? Sigh. Elder Huang and Elder Lei separated from the void. Amidst the vast and mighty lightning, Elder Huang sighed and finally entered the void passage. There will be a day when all of this will end. An old voice sounded from the void passage. The sorcerer Saint Flag covered the passage and blocked all the attacks. In the end, it slowly disappeared into the void passage. Bang, bang, bang. Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, Du Tingxian, Mo Tianxiao, and all the others' attacks exploded in the void. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, mighty and mighty, but all traces of legalism had completely disappeared. The void returned to normal, and the wormhole disappeared. Legalism and the void were completely isolated. The wormhole has been destroyed. Unless we can open up this space, we can't enter. Elder Lei said. Destroying the wormhole was equivalent to destroying the passage to legalism. Do they want to enter and never come out? Du Yunlong's cloud robe fluttered as he frowned slightly. No, with the foundation of legalism and the experts of the Saint Plane, they can open up a new wormhole when the time comes. It's just that they have to pay a great price, Du Tingxian said. They have isolated the space and no one can do anything to them. It's difficult for ordinary experts of the Saint Plane to break through the space and force their way in. Elder Lei said, and the lightning in his eyes gradually disappeared. Dad! They escaped again. That strange banner is really extraordinary. It's a treasure. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao went to Du Xiaofu's side, and they were filled with hatred. Du Xiaofu put away the purple lightning profound cauldron and looked at the void. His eyes flickered with golden light. In the end, he didn't get to see his mother and sister as he wished. Let's go back. At least this time, we didn't come out empty-handed. Du Tingxian stood beside Du Xiaofu and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder gently. He looked deep into the void and said, I hope the next time we come won't be too far away. Saint Plane. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered with a trace of fluctuation. If he could reach that level, he might be able to directly enter legalism. However, Du Xiaofu knew very well that even if he had stepped into the true nirvana realm, he still didn't have that qualification. But this time, although he didn't get to see his mother and sister, he was able to step into the true nirvana realm and kill Li Chenfa. Han Aoshi was also severely injured and probably wouldn't live for long. Such a harvest wasn't small, and Du Xiaofu didn't feel too regretful. After a while, Du Xiaofu said, Let's go. We'll go back first. Chapter 1807. More than 10 days had passed since the experts of the desolate country besieged legalism. But in these 10 days, the news of the desolate country besieging legalism and forcing the legalism to flee in defeat and remain in seclusion swept through Kyushu like a storm, then the 3 continents, the Beast region, the 4 seas, Wudong Mountain and other places. Han Aoshi's heart had been dug out, and the ancestor of legalism, Li Chenfa, had self-destructed. Everywhere this news spread, it shook. The desolate country has already become so powerful. The world was shaken, and the experts sighed. More than 10 years ago, the desolate country was still unknown, but in such a short time, it had reached the point where it could besiege one of the 9 great clans, legalism. This kind of growth speed was absolutely unprecedented and would never be surpassed in the future. Du Xiaofu's breakthrough in battle, stepping into the cycle of nirvana, was also the talk of countless people. Such a demon king suppressed all his peers, crushing the heavenly prides and supremes of his generation to the point where they could no longer raise their heads. Some of the elders and experts could only sigh. Such a junior, in such a short time of cultivation, had already surpassed them by far. Sunset. The last rays of the setting sun shone upon the stone city. The sunset cast a golden glow, accompanied by the glow of the grass of immortality and dark seeker grass. Everything was like a dream. Behind the Du family's mountain, on a towering mountain peak. On the rock, Du Xiaofu sat upright. His black hair was soft, and his jade-like hair was leaning against his shoulder. A faint fragrance wafted into his nose along with the wind. A gentle breeze blew. It was early autumn. Occasionally, a few pale yellow leaves drifted down, but they stayed far away from the two of them, as if they couldn't bear to disturb this rare moment of peace. From dusk to sunset, a few broken stars hung in the sky, and the bright moon gradually climbed into the sky. Under the moonlight, Yangshuang leaned gently against Du Xiaofu's shoulder, feeling the familiar warmth. She was lazy and didn't want to get up. Softly, she said, "Do you still remember the first time we met?" "Yes, we had a fight and you bit my nose." Du Xiaofu smiled and hugged the woman beside him. He looked at the moon and thought back to the past. But he didn't expect that the two of them would be together now. How mysterious was fate? Ouyang Shuang smiled faintly. Her smile was like a flower, able to hook one's soul. After that, she softly said, "Sometimes, I wonder how good it would be if I had Qingqing or little Xingxing's talent. Then I would be able to stand beside you and fight alongside you." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu lifted his head and cupped the beautiful face beside him. His eyes were shining as he said, "You have already helped me too much. I, on the other hand, have been cultivating all the time and haven't even had the time to accompany you. Haven't you been by my side these few days?" Ouyang Shuang smiled faintly. A gentle breeze blew, and a few strands of her hair swayed gently, adding to her charm. Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up. "Actually, I'm only afraid that one day, I won't be able to catch up to your footsteps. At that time, the distance between us would only grow further and further." Ouyang Shuang spoke. This was the worry in her heart. She had personally witnessed the purple-robed young man before her. She had always been working hard to catch up to him. Back then in Tianwu Academy, she had always been working hard. She always thought that she only wanted to become an expert. Only now did she know that there was a seed buried in her heart. She was only afraid that she would grow further and further away from him. And now, she was still working hard. But no matter how hard she tried, she was still unable to catch up to his footsteps. She was unable to help him much. "I will always be here," Du Xiaofu said. When Ouyang Shuang opened her mouth, wanting to say something, his fiery lips had already touched hers. She was already in his embrace. At this moment, Ouyang Shuang was immediately stunned. She didn't know what to do and felt her heart beating wildly. She couldn't help but close her eyes. She didn't know what to do. A moist touch came from her lips. A numb electric shock came from her lips. She couldn't help but put her hands on his shoulders. Under the pure white moonlight, their hair fluttered. This man and woman embraced each other. Under the bright moon and stars, their lips were entwined and their tongues were intertwined. The next morning, the east was slightly bright. Under the slightly white sky, in the barbaric Beast Mountain range, the mountain peaks were as black as iron. It was solemn and dignified. The stone city was covered in radiance and mist rose. "Brother, father," Du Xiaoqing and little Xingxing directly pushed open the door and entered Du Xiaofu's room. Ah! A scream immediately came from the room. It sounded like a frightened rabbit. What's going on? This was the Du family. There were as many experts as there were clouds. It immediately attracted a lot of experts. Du Xiaoyao, Emotian Xiao, Thunderhawk King, Wuming, and Ghost Chariot. Many of these experts were attracted. Nothing. We didn't see anything. Little Xingxing and Du Shaoqing swaggered out of the room as if nothing had happened. Cough. Nothing happened. You can all leave. Du Xiaofu stood with his hands behind his back and walked out of the room. He looked calm as if nothing had happened. Sister Shuang, why are you in Big Brother Xiaofu's room? Are you guys okay? Dai Xingyu curiously asked Ouyang Shuang, who was standing behind Du Xiaofu. Her hair was a little messy, her face was flushed, and her head was lowered. We're fine. Ouyang Shuang shook her head. Her delicate face was even redder. It's good that you're fine. It's good that everyone is fine. Ha, Emhan Xiao, Thunderhawk King, Ghost Chariot, and the others looked at Du Xiaofu with half smiles. Xingyu, they're fine. Don't worry about them. Du Xiaoman held Dai Xingyu's hand with a smile on her face. Her legs were long and slender as she looked at Du Xiaofu and Ouyang Shuang with a faint smile. Third brother, some of us have discussed. There are some things that we need you to decide. Du Yunlong's figure appeared. He knew what had happened at a glance. Okay, get someone to go to the palace hall. Du Xiaofu immediately nodded and smiled gratefully at his second brother, Du Yunlong. His second brother had purposely come to help him out. After a while, Du Xiaoyao, Du Shaoqing, Wuming, Zhen Qingchun, and the core experts of the desolate country were all present in the palace hall. Du Tingxian and Old Lei were also present. They sat on both sides of Du Xiaofu. Third brother, we've discussed for a while. We feel that the desolate country might be able to build a wormhole. Rumor has it that a great calamity is coming. If we don't have a wormhole, the desolate country's migration will be much slower when the calamity comes. Du Yunlong said. Everyone had discussed the wormhole over the past few days. Most of them felt that it was necessary. However, building a wormhole didn't just require strength. It also required a huge amount of energy. Such a huge matter required Du Xiaofu to decide personally. Building a wormhole. Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes. He was no stranger to wormholes. A wormhole was a spatial tunnel that connected two different spaces. However, opening a wormhole required at least a 9-star spiritual talisman master. That wasn't all. Ordinary 9-star spiritual talisman masters couldn't do it. They needed to be proficient in formations and had dabbled in the mysteries of space and time. Only then could they have the opportunity to build a wormhole. 8-star spiritual talisman masters and martial saints could travel through space. However, they couldn't open a wormhole. Building a wormhole required a huge amount of energy. Opening and maintaining a wormhole required a huge amount of energy as well. Du Xiaofu pondered. The Ancient Heaven sect, the Profound Talisman sect, and the Profound Underworld sect all had wormholes. However, they didn't lead to many places. Aside from places like the Tianhuang continent and the Chenhuang continent, they didn't lead to anywhere else. The further they went, the greater the cost. Places like the Four Seas and Wutong Mountain were the territories of the dragons and phoenixes. The beast region was also the territory of the beast race. Even if they had the resources to build a wormhole, the dragons, phoenixes, and beast race wouldn't allow someone to build a wormhole there. No one would allow someone else to build a wormhole at their doorstep. Building a wormhole requires too much energy. Our desolate country has just risen and we don't have any plans to enter the other 8 continents. Building a wormhole requires too much energy. We need to think about it carefully, said Meng Kai Kai. He had his own thoughts. From his point of view, he didn't really support building a wormhole. That kind of energy consumption made his heart ache. Chapter 1808. This time, after cleaning up the converted forces of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal, we've calculated all our gains. The wormhole cost that we paid to the Ancient Heaven sect is just a drop in the ocean. The rest is enough to support the construction of the wormhole, and for a short period of time, it will be enough to operate. Gu Zhangyu spoke. He had been in the desolate country recently, managing the huge wealth of the country with Meng Laikai. At this moment, Gu Zhangyu was no longer the same person as before. He had his own aura. As a puppet master with a great reputation in the central state and even in the entire Kyushu, any puppet he made would have a sky-high price in the outside world. There was a price but no market, and the supply could not meet the demand. As for the World Pavilion, it has accumulated quite a lot over the years. After sweeping away the converted forces of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal in the 8 states, we can also station the World Pavilion in the 8 states. When the time comes, we will definitely gain a lot. After a short pause, Gu Zhangyu continued, however, I also agree with Hall leader Meng's opinion. Constructing a wormhole costs too much, and it's not very useful at the moment. If we really need it, we can borrow the wormholes of the Ancient Heaven sect, or even the Shenming sect and Shenming sect. We can even delay the construction of the wormhole. That's true, but borrowing the wormhole is not a long-term plan. Constructing the wormhole is a precaution, just in case. Although it costs a lot, it is necessary. Eagle King Gongdao spoke. As the great elder of the world society, his words carried a certain weight. Dad, what do you think? After pondering for a while, Du Xiaofu asked his drunkard father. It all makes sense. Du Tingxian said, but constructing a wormhole is not easy. In the desolate country, there are not many people who have the strength to do so. Constructing a wormhole also has a great risk. We need to think about it in the long run, and we can't be careless. Constructing a wormhole is no small matter. Once it fails, we may drown in the collapsed space, unable to escape for eternity. Zhen Qingchuan's inverted triangular eyes said, I have some understanding of wormholes recently and can be of some help. However, I'm afraid that I'm far from enough to construct a wormhole alone. Master once mentioned wormholes to me. I have some experience with wormholes and can be of help, Dai Xingxing said. Dai Xingyu said. Back then, she had not broken through to the nirvana stage, but she had already come into contact with spatial wormholes. During this period of time, I'll do some research. If possible, I hope to build a wormhole as soon as possible. Du Xiaofu said. He still hoped to construct a wormhole as soon as possible. The great calamity of the world was coming, and when that time came, there would be unforeseen events and dangers everywhere. It would be worth it to leave a glimmer of hope for the desolate country, no matter how many resources he had to expend. Where are Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai? Du Xiaofu was surprised to see Qingguyu, Silver Fox, Stone, and Qi Giyu among the 18 celestial guards. Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai were the only ones missing. Where else can they go besides Wanzhou's 100 Flowers Gate? Chang Guyu smiled helplessly. After returning to the desolate country, those 2 fellows had gone to Wanzhou. These 2. Du Xiaofu smiled and said to Li Shui of the Moon Shadow Hall, send a message to those 2 fellows. There's no need to rush back. Let them stay in the 100 Flowers Gate for a while. Yes, I'll arrange it now. Li Shui smiled. Immediately, everyone in the hall smiled knowingly. In the following time, Du Xiaofu went to Tianwu Academy to understand the situation. He also left the desolate ancient space in Tianwu Academy, allowing the experts of the desolate country and the students of Tianwu Academy to enter the desolate country's battle realm and enlightenment realm to comprehend. As for Du Xiaofu, Zhen Qingchun, and Dai Xingyu, they were immersed in studying wormholes. We can also help. Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing were not idle. They each had their own talents and could help. Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaoman, and Du Xiaoqing could only stand by the side. The others could not help. Zhen Qingchun said, to construct a wormhole, the most important thing is to have some understanding of the space and time ultimacy. Experts who have some understanding of the space and time ultimacy, even if they are martial Dao experts, can also construct a wormhole. In the supreme tomb of the divine domain space, I obtained some opportunities and made some progress in the space ultimacy. Father, do you want to take a look? Little Xingxing did not hide anything from Du Xiaofu. In the supreme tomb of the divine domain space, he obtained a huge opportunity that contained the space ultimacy. The desolate ancient space is related to time, so it must be related to the time ultimacy. To construct a wormhole, you need to comprehend it well. Du Xiaofu said. Then, the group entered the desolate ancient space and prepared to construct a wormhole. The In the desolate ancient space, a screeching sound resounded. Little Xingxing condensed his hand's seals and the space in front of him fluctuated. A resplendent seven-colored phoenix phantom appeared, spreading its wings and soaring into the sky. The seven-colored light flooded the void. Such a phoenix phantom was too shocking. It was as if it had crossed through space and time, causing the space to explode. This phoenix phantom was clearly different from the phoenixes of the current era. It was not something that the phoenixes of the current era could compare to. This is the opportunity one obtained in the Supreme Tomb. It was left behind by my father. It allowed me to awaken a type of bloodline in my body and allowed me to comprehend the profoundness within it. Little Xingxing said. The seven-colored phoenix flapped its wings and flew into the void. It was like a phoenix of 10,000 phoenixes. The pressure on the phantom was not inferior to that of dragons and ordinary phoenixes. Phoenix Clan. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. Back then, in the void painting caused by the Lord of 3,000 Worlds, he had already seen this phoenix phantom. Looking at it carefully, it was smaller in size compared to ordinary phoenixes. However, its power was much more terrifying. This is not a phoenix. Strictly speaking, it is a vermilion bird. It comes from my mother's bloodline. My father was afraid that my mother's bloodline would be suppressed in my body. Hence, he left this mark in the Supreme Tomb, allowing me to awaken the vermilion bird bloodline in my body and comprehend the profoundness of space. Little Xingxing said seriously, as far as I know, the vermilion bird bloodline comes from the heavens. It is a heavenly spiritual beast that surpasses the phoenix. Vermilion bird surpasses the phoenix. This was the first time Du Xiaofu heard it. This was not a phoenix, but a vermilion bird. It was an existence that surpassed the phoenix. The phoenix was the leader of the flying beasts. However, the vermilion bird was a heavenly spiritual beast that surpassed the phoenix. If the real vermilion bird were to descend, how powerful would it be? The vermilion bird clan is born with the power of space. They are talented in the profoundness of space. Little Xingxing said. This was what he had comprehended. Comprehended. Du Xiaofu was a little excited. If he could comprehend the profoundness of space from the vermilion bird that surpassed the phoenix, it would be very useful. The profoundness of space. Zhen Qingchun, Dai Xingyu. Du Xiaoyao's eyes were also shining. They did not want to miss out on such an opportunity. Time passed slowly. Kyushu was turned upside down by the desolate country. After a huge commotion, it returned to a short period of peace. Nothing major happened. However, there were rumors that a great calamity was approaching. When the time came, the world would become a demon's domain. It was inevitable that everyone was panicking. The great calamity is approaching. There are also super strong people in the world who will stop it. There are still many hidden strong people in the world. They are all preparing to resist the great calamity. I believe that they will succeed. Such words could not be heard anywhere in the 9 prefectures. Time was like quicksand quietly passing by. Unknowingly, 2 months had passed since the desolate country's strong people surrounded legalism. Whoosh whoosh, in the barren ancient space, several figures flew out. They were Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and Dai Xingyu. The 5 people from Zhen Qingchun. The profoundness of space and time is really hard to comprehend. After such a long time, I can only barely see the door. Du Xiaofu sighed. He had been in the barren ancient space for almost a year and a half. However, he did not gain much in the profoundness of space and time, but he did gain a lot. It could be said that he had opened a door. Peeking at the door is enough to build a wormhole. I heard from my master that it's not easy to peek at the door of any kind of ultimacy in this world. It requires extremely high talent. It's extremely difficult to truly comprehend the ultimacy and reach a higher level. There aren't many people in this world who can do that. Dai Xingyu's eyes were smiling. She stood there elegantly, looking extremely charming. The progress she had made during this period was enough for her to be satisfied. Zhen Qingchun said, "If we want to build a wormhole, it's best that we go to the wormhole to comprehend it. This way, our chances of success will be much higher." Brother Qingchun is right. Let's make a trip to the ancient heaven sect. Du Xiaofu nodded. Before building a real wormhole, being able to comprehend it in the wormhole would naturally increase their chances of success. Therefore, a few days later, Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, Zhen Qingchun, Dai Xingyu, and Little Xingxing arrived at the ancient heaven sect. With Du Xiaofu's connections in the ancient heaven sect, entering the ancient heaven sect was like returning to his own home. Using the wormhole to meditate naturally wouldn't be a problem. In the mountains, the wormhole opened. Runes flickered and space-time fluctuated. Du Xiaofu's group of 5 entered the wormhole and calmed down to comprehend everything. Ever since he had comprehended the ancient stone tablet outside the Du family, Du Xiaofu's comprehension of all kinds of things had been doubled with half the effort. As he comprehended the 2 stone tablets that contained the tyrannical sword path and the tyrannical chi path, his comprehension ability increased by a lot. After a few days, the 5 of them left the ancient heaven sect and returned to the desolate country. Let's first build a wormhole to the Tianhuang mainland. There are many wormholes on the Tianhuang mainland that lead to Kyushu. After some thought, Du Xiaofu decided on the location of the first wormhole in the desolate country. Then let's do it. After such a long period of comprehension and preparation, they were finally going to make a move. This made Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and Zhen Qingchun very eager to give it a try. Whoosh whoosh. In the following period of time, countless resources in the desolate country were used. Many figures shuttled between the desolate country and the Tianhuang mainland. Chapter 1809. Rumble. A few days later, the stone city shook as several figures appeared in the depths of the palace. Hand seals formed and connected, and dazzling runes of various colors covered the entire palace. They channeled the energy of heaven and earth, causing time and space to distort as if they were going to crush the void. Walala, above the void, the runes shone brightly, revealing a deep hole in space. The runes flickered, and a misty aura filled the air. Rumble. At this moment, the entire stone city shook, and rumbling sounds reverberated endlessly, as if heaven and earth were about to crumble. Rumble. A vast aura descended, causing all living beings in the stone city to be shocked. A terrifying aura spread across the entire middle state. It's coming from the direction of the desolate country. Such a huge commotion immediately attracted the attention of the experts in the middle state. Many old figures appeared in the void, looking in the direction of the desolate country. It seems like the desolate country is building a wormhole. That group of supreme talents is simply proficient in everything. In the void, an elder's eyes shone with a divine light, rippling. 3 days later, somewhere in the Tianhuang mainland where wormholes converged, the space was distorted, revealing a hole in the void. Runes filled the air, shining brightly in the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, 5 figures flew out from the hole in the void. The first was a tall man in a purple robe, his long black hair flying in the wind. There was also a beautiful woman. She was young, slim, and elegant, but she could move one's soul. There was a golden red-bone horse monkey the size of an adult. He was born with spiritual eyes and had the aura of a king. There was also a little girl who was born to be a supreme. Her eyes shone with golden flames, demonic and noble. The last was a middle-aged man. His inverted triangular eyes were filled with charm, and a faint murderous aura surrounded him. When these 5 people appeared, their faces were pale, and their auras were weak. It's done. The 5 of them walked out, looked at each other, and then smiled. Oh my God, it's the Demon King Du Xiaofu, the red-bone horse monkey Du Xiaoyao, the purple dragon emperor, Dai Xingyu, and the sacred array child Zhen Qingchun. The appearance of these 5 people in the Tianhuang mainland immediately caused a huge commotion. Congratulations, Brother Xiaofu. It will be much more convenient for me to go to the desolate country in the future. Behind him were Blue Fantasy and Scarlet Rock. These days, he had been guarding the desolate nation nearby, constructing a wormhole. He could not afford any mistakes. On this day, the desolate country successfully constructed a wormhole. Success. Our desolate country now has the ability to construct wormholes. On this day, the imperial palace was filled with jubilation. Everyone was extremely excited. In this world, only existences like the 9 great families had the qualifications and strength to construct a wormhole. The spatial wormholes in the Ancient Heaven sect, the Profound Underworld sect, and the Profound Talisman School were all left behind by their ancestors. With the current strength of the Ancient Heaven sect and the Profound Talisman sect, if they wanted to rebuild the wormhole, the chances of success would be slim. Extraordinary. When Old Master was your age, I'm afraid he didn't have the cultivation he has now. Old Lei was touched. The son of the new master was so talented that it shocked the world. While the imperial palace was jubilant, Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xingxing went into seclusion in the desolate ancient space. The consumption of constructing the wormhole had exhausted the 5 of them to the extreme. The huge consumption was too shocking. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand it. Walala! Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged as golden light enveloped him. He breathed evenly, and an incomparably domineering aura spread out from the golden light. In his mind, Du Xiaofu had already entered a state of comprehension. This time, he had a deeper understanding of the time and space ultimacy by constructing the wormhole. Unfortunately, according to Dai Xingyu, his understanding of the time and space ultimacy was only at the door. He was still far from reaching the next level. Walala, several days later, in the desolate ancient space, the golden light around Du Xiaofu's body fluctuated like golden spiritual snakes. Finally, it entered his body. Qi, however, when the last wisp of golden light disappeared, Du Xiaofu opened his tightly shut eyes. Golden light shot out from his eyes, dazzling and resplendent. Boom! At this moment, an invisible aura swept out, causing his purple robe to flutter and space to tremble violently. Huff! As he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, a ripple appeared on Du Xiaofu's resolute and determined face. There seems to be another way to construct the wormhole. I can study it carefully. Du Xiaofu muttered softly. Although he had constructed a wormhole, from his comprehension, Du Xiaofu felt that the wormhole constructed in this world could be improved. However, he needed to continue comprehending it. Perhaps he would have the chance to construct a different wormhole in the future. However, first, he needed to improve his time and space ultimacy. Father! Big Brother Xiaofu. Along with Du Xiaofu's awakening little star, Dai Xingyu, little demon Du, Zhen Qingchun, and the others who were nearby had successively awakened from their breathing and meditation, and they spat out foul air before arriving by Du Xiaofu's side. The wormhole has been successfully constructed. Legalism has also sealed the exit. What do you plan to do next? Zhen Qingchun asked Du Xiaofu. Work hard to improve your strength. The rumor of the great tribulation of heaven and earth is not baseless. Du Xiaofu stood up and narrowed his eyes. The great tribulation of heaven and earth was coming. At that time, this world might very well become a demon domain. The great tribulation of heaven and earth was closely related to the devil religion. His master, weapon-revered Xiahou Fengle, was still in the hands of the devil religion. Whether it was for public or private reasons, there would be a great battle with the devil religion sooner or later. All of this required him to improve his strength. Legalism could no longer break in. However, legalism would come out sooner or later. After this siege, Du Xiaofu also realized that if he wanted to truly suppress the legalism, even his current nirvana cultivation was not enough. He needed to work hard to improve his cultivation and strength. After a while, in the main hall of the Du family, many core experts of the desolate country gathered. All of them had smiles in their eyes. Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai sent back a message. Du Xiaomen smiled and said to Du Xiaofu, "What message? It seems to be good news?" Looking at the smiles on everyone's faces, Du Xiaofu guessed that it was definitely good news. Counting the time, Yi Piaoling and Hua Zimo, Mu Ruobai and Xia Liyue's wedding will be held in my desolate country. At this moment, those 2 guys should already be on their way back. Du Xiaomen smiled and said, "What? Those 2 guys are done so quickly?" Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was stunned for a moment. Then, a smile appeared on his face. "What do you mean by done?" Ouyang Shuang stared at Du Xiaofu with her big beautiful eyes. Li Shui Zijin and the others also glanced at Du Xiaofu. Ah! Gui Che, Guqin Devil, Silver-Winged Devil Condor and the others smiled faintly. Looking at everyone's gazes, Du Xiaofu suddenly clicked his tongue. He smiled embarrassedly and said to Ouyang Shuang, "Done means that they are finally going to get married." "Is that so?" Ouyang Shuang rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. In front of so many people, this was giving him a lot of face. Du Yunlong did not miss the opportunity to speak. He asked Du Xiaofu, "Third brother, the wedding will be held in my desolate country. How do you think we should arrange it?" "The whole country will celebrate. Inform Kyushu to make it as lively as possible. We can't neglect the 100 Flowers Gate." Du Xiaofu said 8 words. Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai's wedding was a joyous occasion for the entire desolate country. With the status of the 100 Flowers Gate, holding the wedding in the desolate country was not without Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai's insistence. The 100 Flowers Gate was also very polite. After all, the rules of the 100 Flowers Gate were broken by these two guys. Understood. Hearing this, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman and the others smiled and nodded. Who would have thought that Yi Piaoling, that killing god, is going to get married? That cold guy seems to have some tricks up his sleeve. Even Hua Zimo has been seduced by him. Hee, when the time comes, we can mess around in the bridal chamber. The 100 Flowers Gate is full of beauties. When the time comes, there will definitely be many. We can't miss this opportunity. The main hall was in an uproar. To everyone present, Yi Piaoling, Mu Ruobai, and the rest of the 18 Celestial Guards were not simply part of the world society. After all these years of trials and tribulations, the 18 Celestial Guards were the benchmark in everyone's heart. They were one of the flags of the world society. These 18 youths were the pride and joy of the desolate country. Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai's wedding was a heartfelt joy for the people of the desolate country, regardless of their age. In the following time, the stone city was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Although Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai had not returned, the entire stone city was filled with jubilation. This is the first time the desolate country has organized such a lively wedding. I have watched that child Yi Piaoling all these years. I didn't expect him to have a family now. Now that I think about it, it was like yesterday in the dark forest. A few days later, in the side hall, Yi Wuming sighed. It had not been easy for the desolate country all these years, but now that he thought about it, it all felt like yesterday. All these years, it has been hard on Elder Yao. If not for Elder Yao's competence, the desolate country would not be where it is today. Du Xiaofu bowed. Back then, when he had nothing, he had dragged Master Apothecary Yi Wuming to join the World Society. With Elder Yao's protection, the World Society had taken shape and the desolate country was today. I should be the one thanking you. If not for you, my old bones would not be where they are today. Yi Wuming looked at Du Xiaofu with some emotions in his eyes. He said, "The most correct thing I have done in my life was to listen to your lies. Otherwise I, Yi Wuming, would not be where I am today. I did not misjudge you." After a slight pause, Yi Wuming looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. He said, "Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai are about to get married. What about you, little Shuang, Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, and the other girls? As far as I know, your uncle and the others are looking forward to you getting married soon." Me? Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. He squinted his eyes and said, "It's still early for me. Master is still in the devil religion. My family has not been reunited. It's not the time yet." Chapter 1810. Yi Wuming stepped forward and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder without saying a word. The bright moon hung high in the sky. The valley was dark and gloomy. It was so dark that even the moonlight couldn't dilute it. In a quiet courtyard, rocks overlapped. A figure with a hood covering his head and a cloak stood in front of the courtyard. He sat cross-legged and breathed in and out. A murderous aura rippled. There were a dozen corpses in front of this person. These corpses were shriveled, as if their essence, blood and souls had been sucked out, leaving only shriveled corpses. As the person in the hood breathed in and out, moonlight fell from the sky and connected with him, tempering his body. The radiance rippled, and the moon seemed to be pulled down and dyed red. Chi! The space rippled and a figure landed silently. He was also dressed in a hood and had a slender figure. His eyes were glowing with a terrifying grayish-white light. Huff! With the arrival of this person, the cross-legged figure stopped breathing and sucked a mouthful of moonlight into his mouth. He retracted his aura and opened his eyes. They glowed with a terrifying light as he slowly stood up. I've received some news recently. Du Xiaofu has stepped into the nirvana stage. The person spoke and took off his hood, revealing a rather young face. He looked to be about 28 or 29 years old and had an extraordinary aura. It was none other than Xin Yan of the Black Talisman sect. He broke through quite quickly. He's already in the nirvana stage. Hearing this, the latter's voice was faint. He raised his head slightly and took off his hood. His golden hair danced in the wind and his face was slightly pale. However, he still exuded a kind of valiance and his eyes were gorgeous. If Du Xiaofu was here, he would definitely be shocked. This was the corpse of Dongli Chihuang, who had disappeared from the Great Wheel sect. He didn't expect Dongli Chihuang to still be alive. His good days won't last for long. Shen Yan laughed coldly. His laughter was gloomy and completely different from his aura. It echoed in the deep valley. How long do we have to endure? Dongli Chihuang looked at Chen Yan, his eyes emitting a terrifying light in the night. Soon. Looking at the night sky, Chen Yan spoke, and a cold light shot out. Du Xiaofu, I'm not dead yet. I'm still alive. We're not finished yet. Dongli Chihuang spread out his arms and sneered. The evil aura on his body fluctuated, causing the clouds to surge and dark clouds to cover the moon. It was as if a peerless demon had been born. In the early autumn morning, there was a hint of coolness. The fallen leaves in the mountain stream were yellow. On this day, Du Xiaofu arrived at the Great Wheel sect. As he gazed at the towering mountains, his heart shook as an indescribable feeling gushed out from within him. The desolate nations Du Xiaofu is here to visit. Du Xiaofu said with a faint smile to the nervous and doubtful disciples outside the Great Wheel sect. Du Xiaofu? The Demon King, Du Xiaofu? When they heard this, the legs of the new disciples of the Great Wheel sect practically trembled while their entire bodies went limp. Their expressions changed drastically, and someone immediately dashed in to report. Sush. It wasn't long before the aura of the Great Wheel sect fluctuated, and many figures flashed out like bolts of lightning. All of them had surprised and tense expressions. Based on their identities, these people were the elders and guardians of the Great Wheel sect. Du Xiaofu had seen many of these figures, and there were even a few experts at the region realm amongst them. Du Xiaofu wasn't unfamiliar with them. However, Du Xiaofu didn't feel much goodwill from the gazes of these experts at this moment. Du Xiaofu, why have you come to my Great Wheel sect? One of the experts at the region realm asked. His gaze flickered, and he looked a little nervous. The Demon King in front of him was no longer the same as before. He even dared to go against legalism, and the Great Wheel sect was no longer able to contend against him. Dongli Chuang's death made these experts of the Great Wheel sect not have much goodwill towards Du Xiaofu at this moment. I'm here to meet someone, Du Xiaofu said. The quiet courtyard was surrounded by lush greenery, and the fragrance of exotic flowers and rare herbs assailed one's nostrils. You're here for her? Outside the courtyard, Du Xiaofu saw an old woman with long sleeves fluttering in the wind. There was no aura fluctuation, but she seemed to be imposing without being angry. Du Xiaofu knew this old woman. She was Dongli Qingqing's master. They had met a long time ago. Later on, when he went to the Divine Dominion, according to his uncle, he had received her help. Later on, when he was outside the Divine Dominion, he had also received her indirect support. Senior, Du Xiaofu said. He felt that this old woman's aura was actually not inferior to the old lady's. In fact, it was even more vast. Perhaps it was because she was Dongli Qingqing's master, but he felt an invisible pressure. However, this pressure did not come from her strength, but from her identity as Dongli Qingqing's master. The old woman looked at Du Xiaofu. She looked old, but her eyes were deep. Looking at Du Xiaofu, she did not speak for a long time. She seemed to be thinking about something, and there were some waves in her heart. Senior. Du Xiaofu raised his head and said again. Sigh. The old woman put away the waves in her heart and sighed slightly. Suddenly, she looked directly at Du Xiaofu and said, How much does she occupy in your heart? Du Xiaofu was stunned. He did not understand and was a little confused, but then he said, If I and she are in danger at the same time, there is one person who must die. That person must be me. She has too many burdens behind her back. You may not understand now, but I can tell you that she has a blood feud. She has to face a colossus like the school of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal. If you want to be with her, you have to protect her. Can you do it? The old woman looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. Du Xiaofu looked at the old woman with a determined gaze and said, I will protect her with my life. Unless I die, if I don't, I will face it with her. Remember what you said today. I did not let her be with you in the past because she has too many burdens. If she is with you, it will hurt her and also hurt you. With her identity, you did not have the right to be with her in the past. The current you is because I misjudged you in the past. It doesn't matter if you don't like me, or if you are unhappy with me, you just have to remember the promise you made to me today. In the end, you two will be together. This is fate, and also the will of the heavens. I will not stop you. The old woman looked at Du Xiaofu and said seriously. Du Xiaofu heard this and looked at the old woman in front of him. He said, I have no displeasure in my heart. In the future, I will be filial and respect senior like Qingqing. With your words, this old woman is enough. Qingqing, that girl, has suffered since she was young. After meeting you in the Savage Beast Mountain Range, I saw a smile on her face. She is not good with words. You cannot let her down. The old woman said, I will definitely protect her well, unless I die one day. Du Xiaofu bowed. He respected the old woman and was happy that Dongli Qingqing had such a master. The old woman waved her hand and said to Du Xiaofu, Go. She has just come out of seclusion. She is in the back mountain. Thank you, senior. Du Xiaofu said goodbye and went to the back mountain. The great tribulation of heaven and earth is approaching. There is not much time left. I don't know what the final result will be. Perhaps I am too harsh on you. After all, you are still a child. Gazing at Du Xiaofu's back, the old woman lifted her head slightly. Her deep eyes rippled as she stared into the distance. She murmured, This brat, maybe he is someone worth trusting. One day when I leave, you won't be all alone. Whoosh! In the back mountain, there was a lush green mountain and an ancient forest. A graceful figure squatted beside an ancient green vine. A flower bloomed, emitting a sweet fragrance. Chapter 1811. Translator. H2 Mr. Du Xiaofu landed and looked at the beautiful figure. A smile appeared on his resolute face. The beautiful figure seemed to have sensed something. She turned and raised her head. In the distance, she saw a familiar figure. She was startled, thinking that she had seen wrongly. Why is he here? Is this an illusion? The beautiful figure thought to herself. Her eyes were clear on her fairy-like face, but when she saw the man slowly walking up to her, she smiled and walked up. Her smile was like a flower as she said, It really is you. Why you here? They didn't let me in. It wasn't easy for me to sneak in. Du Xiaofu smiled and looked at the girl in front of him. The surroundings were lush and the forest was ancient. It was as if they had returned to the Savage Beast Mountain Range. Dongli Qingqing rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu and said, If you want to come in, who can stop you? But as her voice fell, Dongli Qingqing's expression changed slightly. She immediately grabbed Du Xiaofu's hand and was about to leave. She said, Did you really sneak in? Be careful, don't let Master discover you. You go to my place first. Du Xiaofu took the opportunity to grab Dongli Qingqing. He looked at the fairy-like girl in front of him. Her green clothes outlined her alluring curves. A few strands of hair fluttered gently beside her ears. Her movements intertwined, making her seem otherworldly. What's wrong with you? If Master discovers you, you'll be in trouble. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu's gaze. She could feel that Du Xiaofu's gaze was extremely special. Her voice also lowered. This is the first time I've discovered that you are so beautiful. Du Xiaofu smiled slightly, his heart rippling. The girl in front of him was like a fairy, elegant and beautiful, like an immortal, intoxicating him. Glib tongue. Dongli Qingqing glared at Du Xiaofu, but her heart was in a daze. Being stared at like that by him, an indescribable feeling crept into her heart. I'm telling the truth. Du Xiaofu promised. As soon as he finished speaking, he held the woman in front of him tightly in his arms. His right hand ran through her black hair, and his lips were already on hers. Dongli Qingqing was stunned and did not know what to do. She did not struggle and seemed to have forgotten to dodge. At this moment, she felt her heart beating wildly. In an instant, she felt a moist sensation on her lips. He gently sucked on her lips and slowly kissed her. Master will find out. You? Finally, Dongli Qingqing reacted. She wanted to struggle, but he covered her delicate red lips and she couldn't speak. With his kiss, Dongli Qingqing's heartbeat accelerated. A numb electric shock passed from her lips, making her respond involuntarily. This was a primitive ability that did not need to be learned. Gradually, the two of them hugged each other tightly. They seemed to have forgotten everything as they closed their eyes and moved their tongues little by little. Cough. Suddenly, a dry cough came from not far away, and the figure of an old woman appeared. The man and woman who were in the midst of forgetting their feelings suddenly separated. They looked at the old woman who suddenly appeared with astonishment. Master, he came to see me. He didn't mean to sneak in. Don't blame him. Dongli Qingqing's face was already lowered to her chest. Her face was flushed red. She held Du Xiaofu's hand tightly, but did not plead for mercy for Du Xiaofu. Did she really think that he snuck in? Senior, why are you here? Du Xiaofu smiled embarrassedly. He was a little absent-minded just now and did not notice the old woman's sudden appearance. I'm just passing by. As expected, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Sigh. The old woman glanced at Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, then said, That's enough. With that, the old woman left. It's all your fault. Seeing her master leave, Dongli Qingqing clicked her tongue. She was puzzled. Her usually strict master did not say anything. Then her fists fell like rain, landing on Du Xiaofu's shoulder. I promised your master that I would not let her down in this life. Du Xiaofu pulled Dongli Qingqing and said seriously, Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruabai are going to marry Hua Zimo and Xia Liyue from the 100 Flowers Gate. I'm here to take you to the desolate country. To the desolate country. Hearing this, Dongli Qingqing was stunned. Yes, an ugly daughter-in-law will have to meet her parents-in-law sooner or later. Besides, you've already met them. Du Xiaofu smiled. Who's your daughter-in-law? Dongli Qingqing stared at Du Xiaofu and suddenly came back to her senses. She immediately shouted, You dare to call me ugly? Ha! Du Xiaofu laughed and ran away. Soon after, a burst of laughter came from the ancient forest, startling many birds. Go, don't forget your manners. When Dongli Qingqing told her master that she wanted to go to the desolate country, the old woman nodded and said only one sentence. The desolate country was full of joy. Sister Qingqing. When Dongli Qingqing arrived at the desolate country, she was immediately surrounded by Du Xiaoqing, Blue Fantasy, Scarlet Rock, and the others. Qingqing. Ouyang Shuang went forward, smiling very warmly. Third young master, do you want me to keep an eye on them? What if they capsize? Du Little Tiger, Ghost Chariot, Phantom Tiger King, and the others pulled Du Xiaofu to the side and said worriedly, Capsize your head. Du Xiaofu left a crisp sound on their heads. He looked at Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing, who were happily mingling with each other, and felt a little nervous. President. The voice was calm. Before he arrived, a faint murderous aura had already filled the air. You're back. Du Xiaofu smiled. He turned around slightly and a dozen tall and straight young men had already gathered around him. The young man at the front was tall and thin. He was wearing a black robe and his black hair was as black as night. His eyes were filled with a piercingly cold sharpness under his scattered fringe. Who else could this young man be other than Yi Piaoling? I'm back. Yi Piaoling raised his head slightly, showing his high nose bridge and thin lips arrogantly. But at this moment, there was a trace of a smile in his eyes. Then he looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "Thank you. What are you thanking me for? Don't forget how much of the desolate country's territory was personally conquered by you." Du Xiaofu patted Yi Piaoling's shoulder, leaned over, and whispered mysteriously, "But tell me honestly, have you settled the most beautiful flower of the 100 Flowers Gate?" "Guess." Yi Piaoling looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. Then he looked at Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing, who were not far away, and whispered, "You must be having a headache now. Which room should you sleep in tonight? You're so boring like this." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu felt a little sullen. With the arrival of Dongli Qingqing, the Du family became even more lively. The aunts and uncles took turns to look at Dongli Qingqing, looking very enthusiastic. Of course, these aunts and uncles did not forget to take care of Ouyang Shuang's feelings. Finally, in this atmosphere, the wedding day of Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai finally arrived. Chapter 1812. Today was the wedding day of Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai. The entire Stone City was in a festive mood, decorated with red carpets. The wedding of Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai was an extremely important event for the entire desolate country. All the experts in the desolate country knew about the relationship between Yi Piaoling and the Rock Emperor, Du Xiaofu. Although the 18 celestial guards belonged to the world society, other than Du Xiaofu, they only listened to orders and did not follow orders. It was obvious that their status was ordinary, and they were the sharpest swords in the desolate country. They controlled the highest torture chamber in the desolate country. Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai were also prodigies, especially Yi Piaoling. His nirvana status was enough to prove everything. Such a big wedding was undoubtedly the most lively day in the desolate country since its establishment. Early in the morning, countless leaders of forces entered the city to congratulate them. The desolate country had already arranged for people to welcome them outside the city, so it was not rude. "The leader of the mysterious talisman sect is here to congratulate you. The leader of the mysterious underworld sect is here to congratulate you. The leader of the Golden Spear sect in Ningzhou, Bailey Wuya, is here to congratulate you. The leader of the Sky Thunder Fort in Laizhou, Mu Qingge, is here to congratulate you. The leader of the Saman Sword sect in Shangzhou, Mu Jianxin, is here to congratulate you. The leader of the Supporting Star sect in Shangzhou, Mu Qingge, is here to congratulate you." Such voices had been echoing throughout the entire Stone City and the Imperial Palace since the morning. Everywhere was filled with a sense of jubilation. Heavens, those who came are all famous forces in the 9 prefectures. They've all come to our desolate country. That's for sure. Mu Qingge and Mu Jianxin are all part of the 12 godly heroes. Our Rock Emperor is the leader of the 12 godly heroes. This is proof of our desolate country's strength. On this big day, all the Kyushu forces are gathered. Who else in the entire Kyushu has the power to summon such people? All of this is brought by the Rock Emperor. All the desolate country's numerous heroes. Our desolate country's many godly heroes. Our desolate country's desolate country, Stone City's Stone City. Stone City was in an uproar. Today's festivities had gathered into an ocean, and it was a testament to the desolate country's strength. Today, such a scene caused the old people of the Stone City to shed tears of excitement and caused the disciples of the Stone City to tremble. The experts of the desolate country were also greeting the guests both inside and outside the palace. There was an endless stream of people. The gods of slaughter were all grinning from ear to ear at this joyous occasion. For the Kyushu experts, this was the first time that many of them had the opportunity to visit the desolate country's imperial palace. What a rich imperial dragon chi! Is that the legendary grass of immortality and dark penetrating grass of the desolate country? These are great treasures. One by one, the experts who visited the desolate nation's imperial palace gasped in amazement. Du Xiaoyao, Little Tiger, Du Xiaoqing, Scarlet Rock, Blue Fantasy, and Little Xingxing were all gone since it was rare for them to be in such a festive mood. It's so lively today. In a corner of the imperial palace, there were two graceful figures standing quietly. They looked around at the lively atmosphere with smiles on their faces. These two women were Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing. Du Xiaoman, Du Shui, and the rest were busy greeting the Kyushu experts and did not have time to rest. It's rare for the desolate country to have such a lively day. Ouyang Shuang's red lips were slightly parted. She looked very calm and had a rare gentleness and politeness. She looked at Dongli Qingqing with a smile. Dongli Qingqing looked at Ouyang Shuang and smiled, saying, "You have been by his side the most all these years. It's been hard on you." "It's what I should do." Ouyang Shuang nodded with a smile. Dongli Qingqing looked at Ouyang Shuang's calm face and her green eyes flickered. The tight-fitting green clothes outlined her tall and graceful figure. It was enough to make one's soul fall in love with her. She then smiled and said, "Back then, when I was in the dark forest with him, he often mentioned you. It's clear how important you are to him." Ouyang Shuang was startled when she heard this. She then said to Dongli Qingqing, "He often mentioned you to me as well. Back then, I entered the dark forest with him to Tianwu Academy. If it weren't for the dangers we encountered along the way, I would have met Miss Qingqing. He's in danger wherever he goes. Back then, when I first met him in the barbaric Beast Mountain range, he was already in danger." Dongli Qingqing's expression was calm. Her eyebrows were like jade feathers on her fairy-like face. Her long black hair was tied into a simple bun at the back of her head. She looked noble and charming. Women are truly strange creatures. It was unknown when Mo Tianxiao had arrived, but his eyes were filled with confusion as he stared at the two beautiful figures. "What's wrong?" Thunderhawk King came over and asked curiously. "Since it's none of our business, it's better to avoid it." Mo Tianxiao shook his head and turned to leave. "This fellow is so mysterious." Thunderhawk King was puzzled. The ancient Heaven Sect's sect master, Elder Gu Qingyang, has arrived. An exceptionally respectful voice resounded in the Stone City and also reached the Imperial Palace. "Everyone, please feel free to do as you wish. Excuse me for a moment, I'll be going to fetch my master." In the Imperial Palace, Du Xiaofu, Desolation Leopard, Mu Qingge, Mu Jianqin, Zhu Shui, and many other leaders of large forces in Kyushu were chatting. When he heard that the ancient Heaven Sect's senior brother and master Gu Qingyang had arrived, he immediately took his leave. At such a young age, he has such strength and cultivation. Most importantly, he respects his master so much. How rare! That old man Gu Qingyang really picked up a treasure. Why can't I meet such a disciple? Seeing Du Xiaofu leave, many old people in the Imperial Palace secretly sighed. Those who were familiar with Gu Qingyang all revealed looks of envy. "Come with me to fetch master and senior brother." Du Xiaofu walked out of the desolate country and saw Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing in a corner. He pulled them along. The two girls looked at each other and smiled. Then, they intimately walked together while holding hands. "Master, senior brother." Du Xiaofu received Sima Taxing and Gu Qingyang's group outside the Imperial Palace. There were also Yin Mochen, Si Ruofeng, Yun Ling, and Shui Ruhan. They were all familiar faces. "Greetings, Sect Master Sima and Elder Gu." Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing also followed behind Du Xiaofu and bowed. "I'm here to see if there are any old friends to see. You can go back to your business," Gu Qingyang said to Du Xiaofu. Then he looked at Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing. His two front teeth, which looked like rabbit teeth, jumped out and said, "Two little girls, when you change your words, I will give you 2 red packets." With that, Gu Qingyang went straight into the Imperial Palace, leaving Dongli Qingqing and Ouyang Shuang looking at each other with blushing faces. "Go back to your business. Don't worry about us. I'm going to find your father for a drink." Sima Taxing smiled at Du Xiaofu. "My father, Uncle Yi, Uncle Ouyang, and Uncle Mu are already drinking. They are in the back of the mountain." Du Xiaofu wryly smiled. His alcoholic father had already taken a few people to the back of the mountain to drink. "Then I'll go find them." Sima Taxing Xing nodded. He was already familiar with the road and didn't need to lead the way. Domain Lord Ru Meng and Domain Lord Su Muxin of the Hehuan School in Shangzhou has come to congratulate you. Suddenly, such a voice was heard. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. Stone City of the Desolate Country was not a place where just anyone could directly cross the sky. That would be disrespectful to the Desolate Country, and it was the same for any great sect or clan. Crossing the sky like a mountain was a sign of disrespect. However, the people who came today were all masters of the great sects in Kyushu. Even if they were not powerful enough, they were still giants with illustrious reputations. They wouldn't let them slowly enter the city. Therefore, the barren country arranged many mounts from the Celestial Beast Hall to welcome them. It didn't lose the dignity of the barren country and also showed respect to the guests. Flying mounts from the Celestial Beast Hall spread their wings in front of the Imperial Palace. In front were the two domain lords Ru Meng and Ru Kuang. Their hair fluttered in the wind and their bearing was extraordinary. From afar, there was already a smile in their eyes. Beside the two domain lords, there was a beautiful figure in a purple dress. She was wrapped in a faint multicolored light and stood quietly. She also had a noble and dignified aura that made people revere her. Such a beautiful figure, dressed in a purple dress, with skin as white as snow. Her eyes were clear and flowing with multicolored light, emitting a bewitching charm. She was so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. When this beautiful woman in purple appeared, although Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing were not drowned out by her radiance, they still secretly attracted a lot of attention. In terms of appearance, Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing were not inferior. However, the invisible aura of the woman in purple dress, that charming and dignified aura, was enough to cause waves in the heart of any man in the world. And such a woman, if not Su Muxin, who else could it be? Looking at Su Muxin, who was on the flying demonic beast in the air, that invisible aura made Du Xiaofu's heart fluctuate. That kind of majesty and charm was unique to her. Greetings, seniors. As the two domain lords Ru Meng and Ru Kuang landed, Du Xiaofu bowed. You should be busy today. You don't have to pay attention to us. The two domain lords laughed. Swish, Su Muxin landed, followed by Ji Jian, Tang Miling, and some other experts and disciples of the Hehuan School. Greetings, sect supervisor. The disciples of the Hehuan School bowed. No need for formalities. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and nodded at Su Muxin. We'll accompany Sister Muxin. You can go ahead. Ouyang Shuang and Dongli Qingqing said to Du Xiaofu as they arrived beside Su Muxin. Then you guys can chat. With these three women together, Du Xiaofu felt a little guilty and did not dare to stay any longer. He wanted to leave as soon as possible and immediately slipped away. Thank you for coming, thank you. In the crowd, the bridegrooms today, Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruabai, were both wearing bright red wedding robes embroidered with dragons and phoenixes. They shuttled through the crowd and greeted the Kyushu experts who came. Chapter 1813. Although Kyushu's major factions had gathered for the desolate nation, none of them dared to be arrogant in front of the famous 18 Celestial Guards and the Nirvana Supremacy Yi Piaoling. Even the domain realm experts had to treat them with respect. Thank you everyone. Please forgive us for our lack of hospitality. Mu Rubai was much more talkative than Yi Piaoling. She was also much more tactful, and her face was full of joy. The smile on Yi Piaoling's face seemed to be forced, but it was obvious that Yi Piaoling was really happy today. The School of Agriculture is here to congratulate the desolate nation. The School of Taoism is here to congratulate the desolate nation. The School of Confucianism is here to congratulate the desolate nation. The School of Yin Yang is here to congratulate the desolate nation. The School of Mo is here to congratulate the desolate nation. When these voices echoed in the palace, the entire Stone City's celebration reached its peak. The 9 great families are here? The Stone City was in an uproar, and the Kyushu experts were also shocked. The School of Agriculture, the School of Taoism, and the School of Confucianism were among the 9 great families, but they had actually sent people here today. Du Xiaofu, who was at the front, raised his head and narrowed his eyes. He was a little surprised. Although he had informed Kyushu, he hadn't informed the School of Agriculture. He hadn't expected them to all come. But in the end, the School of Agriculture, School of Taoism, and School of Confucianism had only sent a few elders and disciples. Du Xiaofu didn't see Qi Yeshi and Sima Muhan among the people from the School of Yin Yang and the School of Mo. However, although the School of Agriculture had only sent a few disciples and a few elders, it was definitely the first time in history that they had come to the desolate nation. Is this a signal? Many experts and authorities in the crowd guessed. The School of Agriculture and School of Taoism had come to congratulate the desolate nation because of the demon king, Du Xiaofu's reputation. The fact that 5 great families had come at this moment made people think a lot. Greetings, elder. In the crowd, many experts from various factions stepped forward and bowed to the elders and protectors of the School of Agriculture, School of Yin Yang, and School of Taoism. They were all from the School of Agriculture, School of Yin Yang, and other factions that had converted to the School of Agriculture. The Phoenix clan of Wutong Mountain has come to congratulate you. Another voice rang out, echoing in the void. Oh my God, even the Phoenix clan is here. The crowd could not hold it in any longer. The Phoenix clan, who rarely showed their faces and did not interfere with the affairs of the outside world, had also come to the barren country to congratulate them. Above Kyushu, the desolate country was probably the only country with such prestige. The Phoenix clan had come. No matter who it was, they were representing the Phoenix clan. Zishuan and Qing Wan were also from the Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu personally welcomed them at the door. The Phoenix clan had also sent an elder and a few extraordinary disciples. They brought extraordinary gifts and said many polite words to Du Xiaofu and Yi Piaoling. They were not arrogant, but they were also very arrogant. This arrogance came from the Phoenix clan itself. For an elder to lead a team to the barren country to congratulate them was already a show of respect from the Phoenix clan. Thank you. Du Xiaofu was neither servile nor overbearing. Being in the palace, his every move was imperceptibly enhanced by the imperial aura of the palace. He gathered great fortune and momentum, which made the elder of the Phoenix clans secretly tremble. Looking at the group of sovereigns from the barren country shuttling in and out of the palace, the elder and the disciples of the Phoenix clan could not help but suppress the arrogance of the Phoenix clan in their hearts. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, outside the stone city, there was a sound that shook the void. There were a total of 9 sounds that shook the void. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Along with the sound of the void trembling, there were beautiful fireworks that bloomed in midair. The 2 brides have arrived. The voice gradually came from outside the stone city, echoing in the void. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the sky, from outside the stone city, there was a flowery fragrance that made people feel relaxed and happy. From high up in the sky, there were petals that sprinkled down on the stone city. Beasts roared like thunder, and there was a bright light of runes sweeping down. Several neat demonic beasts pulled a red carriage over. This was the mount and carriage of the 100 Flowers Gate. Today was the big day of the 100 Flowers Gates Hua Zimo and Xia Liue. The 100 Flowers Gate had come to deliver the bride, and demonic beasts could be seen flying through the sky. In front of and behind the carriage, light fluctuated, petals sprinkled, and the fragrance of flowers filled the air. Hundreds of figures appeared. It's the sect master of the 100 Flowers Gate, Hua Qianyue. The domain lord of the 100 Flowers Gate, the domain lord of the Viburnum Flower Gate, they also came personally. In an instant, someone exclaimed, looking at the hundreds of figures, and an uproar of surprise immediately spread. The arrival of the sect master of the 100 Flowers Gate and the 2 domain lords who had not shown themselves for a long time caused a great commotion in the crowd. At this moment, the young disciples of the 100 Flowers Gate who came with them all had outstanding temperaments. The male disciples were all tall and straight with a cold expression. The aura that faintly permeated from their bodies was also very frightening. The female disciples had graceful figures with moving curves, causing many men to take a few more glances. When the red carriage of the 100 Flowers Gate appeared outside of the imperial palace, In front of the crowd, 16 heavenly guards surrounded Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai. Their faces were brimming with smiles. Under the gazes of the crowd, the red carriage in the sky opened. The female disciples of the 100 Flowers Gate came forward and escorted the two girls who wore phoenix crowns and red robes. Their faces were covered with a red veil, and they landed on the ground like the stars surrounding the moon. When the two girls landed, Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai nervously clenched their fists. Their gazes were fixated on the two girls as their hearts trembled. "Go, welcome the bride, but don't make a mistake." Du Xiaofu came forward and patted Mu Ruobai and Yi Piaoling's shoulders with a smile. At this moment, he was sincerely happy for the two. "Boss, go quickly, it's time to welcome the bride." Qianguyu, Stone, Shigeyu, and the others smiled as if they were even more excited than the two grooms. "Ha, go welcome the bride quickly. Don't tell me that the two of you are embarrassed of the 18 heavenly guards? Go." In a split second, the crowd erupted in laughter. "We want to see the bride." Little Star, Scarlet Rock, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Xiaoyao came out of nowhere and loudly shouted in the crowd, attracting many followers. Yi Piaoling glanced at Du Xiaofu before exchanging glances with Mu Ruobai. Only then did she slowly walk forward. "Don't make a mistake." The crowd roared with jubilant laughter. "I won't make a mistake, I definitely won't make a mistake," Mu Ruobai said to the crowd. She walked up to the two women and bowed to the sect master and several elders of the 100 Flowers Gate. Then, she took the red rope from a female disciple of the 100 Flowers Gate with a face full of smiles. How could he give it to the wrong person? Even the red curtain couldn't stop him. Yi Piaoling walked forward and bowed to the elders of the 100 Flowers Gate. Then, she also took a red rope and slowly walked into the palace. Walala, along the way, flower petals fell, red carpets connected, and red lanterns were placed on both sides. The red palace was full of dragon qi, and the occasional dragon roar resounded. "I want to see the bride. When can I see the bride?" Little Star shuttled through the crowd and shouted with all his might. In the end, he was caught in Du Xiaofu's hand. In the crowd, Sima Taxing, Du Tingxian, Elder Lei, and Ouyang Ling had also snuck in at some point. They were also very interested. Inside the palace, one could still see the figures of the North Vanquishing King and the South Vanquishing King. They were still very healthy and cheerful. A moment later, under the gazes of the crowd, the two couples stood in the main hall of the palace. "Today, my beloved disciple and disciple are getting married. The wedding will be held in the barren country. Thank you all for traveling thousands of miles and crossing continents to borrow the barren country's land. On behalf of the 100 Flowers Gate, I thank you all." The 100 Flowers Gate's sect master Hua Qianyue walked forward. She was a beautiful woman with a noble temperament. Facing the guests in the hall, she was elegant and courteous. Everyone cheered for her. As everyone knows, our 100 Flowers Gate has some rules, but sometimes, the rules can be slightly changed. "Good, Sect Master Hua, good job." Before Hua Qianyue could finish her sentence, the crowd cheered even louder. In the past few years, the 100 Flowers Gate's rules forbade its disciples from marrying outside. Who knew how many young talents could only watch from afar? At this moment, the 100 Flowers Gate's rules were changed appropriately. This was beneficial to Kyushu, especially the people from Wanzhou, who were especially excited. Hua Qianyue clearly didn't expect to cause such an uproar. She could only faintly smile and continue. "Zimo is my beloved disciple and the next sect master. Liue is also the beloved disciple of an elder in my sect. Her position in the sect is not low. These two girls are a good match for Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai. Today, my beloved disciple Hua Zimo and disciple Xia Liue will be marrying Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai respectively." "Good." Hearing this, waves of cheers erupted in the main hall of the palace. "Everyone, the auspicious time has arrived. Let the wedding begin." Looking at the sky outside the main hall, Du Zhenwu walked up. Looking at the heroes around him, he faintly smiled and said, "To me, Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai are like my own children. Even though I didn't watch them grow up, these years, I have watched them train and grow step by step. That's why they are today." His words caused the entire imperial palace to fall silent. Everyone present knew that the 18 heavenly guards had only risen in recent years. They came out of nowhere and shocked Kyushu. Today, these two children are getting married. I am very happy in my heart. The entire barren country is celebrating, but today, the wedding officiator is not me. With that, Du Junwu looked at Du Xiaofu and said, Xiaofu, you will be the officiator. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was taken aback. The officiator was a person of virtue and prestige. He originally thought that the officiator had already been arranged, so he didn't ask. Xiaofu, you go. You are suitable. The North vanquishing prince came to Du Xiaofu's side and said, You are the rock emperor of the barren country and also the president of the world society. There is no one more suitable than you. Chapter 1814. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu had no choice but to go up. He was a bit nervous because this was the first time a young lady had to walk on the bridge of flowers. I am a bit nervous. Walking to the front of the hall, Du Xiaofu nodded towards the old man from the 100 Flowers Gate. Then he looked at the heroes and spoke. Hearing that Du Xiaofu was nervous, the crowd couldn't help but laugh. This demon king was nervous. This was definitely a rare sight. I am still young and this witness makes me a bit nervous. Du Xiaofu said. Then he looked at the two couples and said, But since I've already come here, I have to brace myself and let the two couples get married. Du Xiaofu's words caused a lot of laughter. The atmosphere in the hall became much more relaxed. As for Du Xiaofu's identity as a witness, no one felt that it was inappropriate. At this moment, no one could find a better choice. This guy. Ouyang Shuang, Dongli Qingqing, Yi Zijin, and Su Muxin stood together and smiled. When these beautiful women stood together, they were also dazzling. The auspicious time has arrived, let's begin. The two couples, first bow to the heaven and earth. Du Xiaofu spoke in a proper manner. Even though he had never been married before, he had seen a few marriages in the Du clan when he was young. Hearing this, the two couples, surrounded by the female disciples of the 100 Flowers Gate, faced the heaven and earth outside the hall. Second bow to the elders. Inside the hall, a disciple placed 4 chairs. The domain lord and Hua Qianyue from the 100 Flowers Gate sat down. My injuries back then were carefully treated by Elder Yi, please take a seat. Yi Pialing walked up and pulled Yi Wuming to a seat. He no longer had any relatives. Back in the dark forest, it was Yi Wuming who carefully treated his injuries. Elder Du, please take a seat. I no longer have any relatives. From now on, Elder Du and Elder Yi are my relatives. Yi Pialing also pulled Du Junwu along. He could feel that the Du family had never treated him as an outsider. I also have no relatives. Big brother's relatives are my relatives, Mu Ruabai said. All right, I'll take my seat. Yi Wuming did not hesitate. His gray robes shook as he took a large stride and sat down. His deep eyes were currently secretly suppressing his excitement. I won't stand on ceremony then. Du Junwu smiled and sat down beside Dr. Wuming, his face full of smiles. Second, bow to your parents. Seeing this, Du Xiaofu spoke again with a smile in his eyes. Husband and wife, bow to each other. By the time Du Xiaofu followed the instructions of the 100 Flowers Gate's female disciple, the ceremony had already been completed. Take off the veil, we want to see the bride. Inside and outside the main hall, as the ceremony was completed, deafening shouts erupted one after another. I also want to see. Du Xiaofu said this with curiosity in his heart. Under countless gazes, Mu Ruabai was a little nervous and her heartbeat sped up. She raised her head and slowly lifted the red veil. Immediately, a moving face appeared. She was elegant, and extremely beautiful. Her eyes flowed, and her eyebrows were long and slender. At this moment, everyone was looking at her with a charming expression. She was definitely an outstanding beauty. Wow, she's really beautiful. Could she be a disciple of the 100 Flowers Gate? Such a moving woman immediately attracted the cheers and envy of everyone present. At this moment, Yi Piaoling raised her hand. Her pitch-black eyes trembled and her arms seemed to tremble as she lifted the red veil. When the red veil slid down, a moving face appeared. Her skin was as translucent as snow and her eyes were filled with charm. She was indescribably beautiful. This kind of beauty caused the main hall of the imperial palace to be momentarily silent. Many people's gazes were blazing and dazed, as if their souls had been sucked out. 100 charming thousand beauties flower Zimo. Someone exclaimed, his gaze trembling. 100 charming thousand beauties flower Zimo was not just a beautiful woman. This kind of woman had once made a name for herself on the Tianhuang continent in a short period of time and became one of the 12 heroes. And in Wanzhou, she was the proud daughter of the 100 Flowers Gate. Her heavenly appearance was astonishing and she was as beautiful as a fairy. This kind of woman was enough to make all the men in Wanzhou go crazy. She also made ordinary men lose the confidence to even approach her. At this moment, she stood in front of Yi Piaoling, wearing a phoenix coronet and a red veil. When this face appeared, Yi Piaoling's gaze was somewhat dazed. She's especially beautiful today. Looking at this charming woman, Dongli Qingqing, Ouyang Shuang, and Du Shaoqing all praised her from the bottom of their hearts. So beautiful! Little Xingxing finally got his wish to see his bride. The wedding is successful. The entire country celebrates. Du Xiaofu smiled and waved his hand. From the depths of the imperial palace, a golden sword flew out and soared into the sky. Boom! In an instant, the golden sword bloomed with golden light. It was as if the sun had jumped out and turned into the shadow of a golden dragon, crossing the stone city. Roar! The golden dragon roared and a golden light bloomed. An oppressive aura descended, causing people's hearts to tremble and want to prostrate. Roar! At this moment, the entire imperial palace was filled with imperial dragon chi, turning into countless golden dragons that roared endlessly. The sound waves were like thunder. The entire stone city was in an uproar. Countless gazes looked at the sky. The entire country was celebrating. Bang, 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 bang. Above the sky, fireworks bloomed. It was incomparably beautiful. Whoosh! Countless flower petals fell and drifted in the air. It was like a dream. At this moment, the celebration reached its peak. Both inside and outside the imperial palace were in an uproar. For such a grand wedding, it was inevitable that the fragrance of wine would fill the air. The heroes would get drunk and make a racket. At dusk, the last ray of the setting sun touched the horizon. Scattered fog covered the land. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on the stone city, reflecting a magnificent scene. The heroes of Kyushu began to leave one after another. The barren country's disciples sent them off. A moment later, dusk silently descended on the stone city. In the end, the entire magnificent stone city was enveloped by the bright setting sun. It slowly darkened until the stars hung in the sky. The room was filled with joy. In front of the couch, Yi Piaoling stood. Hua Zimo sat quietly with her head slightly lowered. Her cheeks were flushed. In the silent room, it was as if they could hear the heartbeats of the two. Yi Piaoling stepped forward and held her hand. He stared blankly at the woman in front of him and said softly, "I finally married you." "I thought it was an illusion." Hua Zimo raised her head slightly. She felt the warmth of his hand from her fingertips all the way to the bottom of her heart. She smiled and looked at the man in front of her, saying, "From now on, I will accompany you forever. With you in my life, it is enough." Yi Piaoling said. His eyes were a little hazy. Then, without any explanation, he carried the woman in front of him and walked towards the bed with a curtain of beads. Hua Zimo did not refuse. It was their wedding day. She knew what would happen. So, at this moment, she shyly buried her head in his chest. She felt her heart beating faster and faster. She let him put her on the bed. Yi Piaoling's eyes became more and more hazy, but his movements were very gentle. He bent down and kissed her delicate lips. Hua Zimo responded. Her arms tightly wrapped around Yi Piaoling's neck. Yi Piaoling's hands were moving around her soft waist. Hua Zimo's response became more and more intense. She felt a current flowing through her body, making her feel numb. She could not resist at all. In the quiet room, only the flickering light of the night pearl shone. This man and woman seemed to be gradually drawn into a burning flame. It was so hot that they could not stop themselves. He was unbuttoning her clothes. His hands were trembling, and he seemed a little clumsy. A moment later, a sound pierced through the silent night sky. Ice was the pain of the first time. Fire was the joy of intimacy. The man and woman who were gathering the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had become one. Sigh, I can't hear anything. They actually set up a seal. Is there no trust between people? Outside the room, a large group of people led by the mysterious Dragon King, Chao Yu, and the others looked helpless. Both rooms had been set up with a seal, so they could not hear or see anything. The bright moon hung in the sky. Layers of thick fog spread out. Under the gentle moonlight, the white fog was hazy. Far away from the mountain peak, the leaves rustled in the night wind. The sound was graceful and deep, intoxicating. Su Muxin stood on the mountain peak. Under the moonlight, she looked like a fairy that should not appear in the mortal world. How's the Manchu recently? Du Xiaofu appeared beside Su Muxin. Looking at the bright moon, his eyes rippled with the morning light. Same as always. Su Muxin opened her mouth. Her voice was calm. Stay in the desolate country for a few more days. Du Xiaofu looked at the woman beside him and said. Her hair fluttered in the wind, and a delicate fragrance spread out. Okay. Su Muxin nodded. Rest early. Du Xiaofu left. His figure was wrapped in starlight, and he disappeared in a flash. Su Muxin turned around and looked at the departing figure. Ripples flashed in her eyes in the night. In a corner of the desolate ancient space, a huge mountain peak floated in the misty space. This mountain peak was huge, and it was filled with alternating white and black colors. There was light, and there were faint fluctuations of talisman runes. This was not an ordinary mountain peak. It was the nest of the divine soul devourer ants. Du Xiaofu had taken the ant nest into the desolate ancient space back in the divine domain. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in front of the ant nest. A bright green light flew out and arrived in front of Du Xiaofu in an instant. Squeaking sounds were emitted from its mouth. It appeared to be very intimate. Little guy. Du Xiaofu smiled and stretched out his hand. A tiny divine soul devourer ant landed in the center of his palm. It was the size of a fingernail, but it shone with a bright green light. There were fluctuations of talisman runes on its body. It was the tiny ant queen. The tiny ant queen landed in Du Xiaofu's palm and rubbed against Du Xiaofu's palm intimately. The tiny light in its eyes was exceptionally resplendent. It was not big, but it emitted a boundless pressure. Little guy, let me bring you out to play. Du Xiaofu smiled and said to the tiny ant queen. Chapter 1815. Squeak, squeak. The little ant emperor seemed to be able to understand Du Xiaofu's words. It let out squeak, squeak in excitement. Green light flickered in its little eyes. Du Xiaofu smiled and left the ancient desolate space with the little ant emperor. Elder, take care. I will visit the Phoenix clan at Wutong Mountain soon. Dusk. The sun was setting. The stone city was enveloped in golden light. Du Xiaofu bid farewell to the elder of the Phoenix clan. Rock Emperor, you are too courteous. My Wutong Mountain will welcome you with open arms. The elder of the Phoenix clan was flattered. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was sending him off personally. Although he was an elder of the Phoenix clan and represented the Phoenix clan, the Demon King was someone who would kill dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal without hesitation. Now, the Demon King was being so courteous to the Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu was indeed very courteous when sending off the elder of the Phoenix clan. It couldn't be helped. Du Xiaofu was planning to visit the Phoenix clan at Wutong Mountain. The little ant emperor's injuries wouldn't last for long. He had to visit the Phoenix clan. Moreover, Zixian was still in the Phoenix clan. After all, she was little Xingxing's godmother. Squeak, squeak. Night fell. The sunlight gradually dimmed. The little ant emperor flew around excitedly in the back mountain of the Du family. It was very curious about everything. There seems to be a huge amount of energy sealed in this little guy's body. Little Xingxing looked at the little ant emperor. Her eyes were shining with golden flames. She could feel the energy sealed in the little ant emperor's body. You are just a little guy. Du Xiaoyao patted little Xingxing's head. Her innate spiritual eyes were also curiously looking at the little ant emperor. Is this the legendary divine soul-devouring ant? At this moment, Dongli Qingqing, Ouyang Shuang, Sumushin Yizijin Yi Wuming Yi Piaoling, Hua Zimo Mu Ruobai, Xia Liyue, Zhen Qingchun, and many others were curiously sizing up the little ant emperor. Everyone was curious and surprised. They had all heard of the legend of the divine soul-devouring ant. Moreover, this wasn't an ordinary divine soul-devouring ant, but a divine soul-devouring ant's little ant emperor. When the old ant emperor reached the end of his life, he sealed his essence, blood, and cultivation into the little ant emperor's body to help him break through. However, this little guy is born with a natural disease. I used my essence, blood, and the grass of immortality to help him, but he was only able to last for a few more years. The result was better than I expected. Therefore, I placed him in the desolate ancient space so that he could break through faster. When the time comes, he would have a better chance of going to the Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu said to little Xingxing and the others, "In a few days, I will be making a trip to Wutong Mountain. Rumor has it that there is a Nirvana divine pool in the Phoenix clan. If the little guy can enter it and undergo Nirvana rebirth, not only will he be able to recover from his natural disease, he can even transform into the supreme ant phoenix of the divine soul-devouring ant race. I can go to Wutong Mountain to see my godmother." Little Xingxing immediately cheered when he heard this. The Phoenix clan's Nirvana divine pool is a treasured land of the Phoenix clan. Even the pure-blooded descendants of the Phoenix clan are not able to enter it. Guiche said. His nine-headed Phoenix clan had some relationship with the Phoenix clan, so he knew a lot of things about the Phoenix clan. The Nirvana divine pool was a treasured land of the Phoenix clan, and not many pure-blooded descendants were qualified to enter it. Du Xiaofu looked at the distant sky and narrowed his eyes. After pondering for a while, he said, "No matter what, let's go there first. This is what I promised the old ant emperor." Squeak, squeak. The little ant emperor landed on Du Xiaofu's shoulder and intimately rubbed against Du Xiaofu's neck. At the same time, it curiously looked at Ouyang Shuang, Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaoqing, and Little Tiger. "They won't hurt you." Du Xiaofu held the little ant emperor in his palm. Perhaps it was because of his blood essence and the profound of the grass of immortality, but he felt very close to this little guy. Squeak, squeak. The little ant emperor clearly understood Du Xiaofu's words. It flapped its wings and flew around Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Xiaoyao. This little guy isn't as scary as the rumors say. It's actually quite cute. Ouyang Shuang said. She wasn't afraid at all. She stretched out her hand and tried to get closer to the little ant emperor. Squeak, squeak. The little ant emperor hesitated for a moment, but in the end, it slowly landed on Ouyang Shuang's palm. It looked at the little ant emperor with curiosity. So cute. Ouyang Shuang was overjoyed. She smiled. Then, the few beautiful women surrounded the little ant emperor and started to talk and laugh. The night was silent. The Du family was still in the courtyard where he grew up. Nothing had changed. In the courtyard, Du Tingxian was sitting on a rattan chair with a wine jug in his hand. He leaned against his chair and looked in the direction of the setting moon. Du Xiaofu was beside him. The father and son didn't say a word. They just sat there quietly. Do you still remember when you were young? You often woke up in the ancestral hall's stone coffin. Du Tingxian broke the silence. He was drinking wine, but he was no longer drunk. He was like a different person. This was the real Du Tingxian. Didn't you do it? Du Xiaofu looked at Du Tingxian helplessly. If this wasn't his father, he would have rolled his eyes at him. How could Du Xiaofu forget the stone coffin in the ancestral hall? When he was young, he didn't know how many times he woke up in the stone coffin in the ancestral hall. Later on, Du Xiaofu found his first uncle and second uncle and told them about this matter. However, at that time, he carried the title of Foolish Young Master, and no one in the Du family believed him at all. He was even almost beaten up, and was specially warned that the stone coffin in the ancestral hall was left behind by the ancestors of the Du family, and was not to be violated. In the years that followed, Du Xiaofu remembered that although he didn't wake up in the stone coffin every day, there would be a few days every month when he woke up in the stone coffin in the ancestral hall. Du Xiaofu didn't know how he got in and didn't tell the elders of the Du family. He didn't want to be punished by the family. He was used to it. In the stone coffin, Du Xiaofu also clearly remembered that he could obtain great benefits. Every time he woke up in the stone coffin, his body felt like it was being cleansed. It could even help him comprehend the ancient stone tablet outside the Du family. At the same time, it could also help him repair the thunder martial vein in his body. Later, Du Xiaofu found out that all of this was done by his drunkard father. Faintly, Du Xiaofu seemed to feel that his drunkard father knew some of the secrets of the ancestral hall. These secrets were not even known by the elders of the Du family. Our Du family's ancestors were extraordinary. There are some secrets in the ancestral hall. I accidentally learned about them and also discovered the benefits in the stone coffin. However, until now, I still can't unravel the secrets in the ancestral hall. Du Tingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "This time, I want to go into seclusion in the ancestral hall for a period of time. I hope to unravel the secrets in the ancestral hall." "Okay, I also want to go to the Phoenix clan on Wutong Mountain." Du Xiaofu nodded. His drunkard father wanted to go into seclusion. How could Du Xiaofu not know what his drunkard father was thinking? He wanted to improve as soon as possible so that he could go to legalism. In the early morning, the mountains were like beauties who had just come out of the bath. In the sky above the stone city, a few spiritual birds flew by from time to time and circled outside the palace. They wanted to absorb the spiritual energy from the grass of immortality and dark seeker grass. Seniors Ru Meng and Kuang have already left. I should also go back. You go to the Phoenix clan. Be careful, Su Muxin said. Her long dress was otherworldly. Under the morning sun, her graceful figure moved people's hearts and souls. You be careful too. Du Xiaofu opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he hesitated and didn't say it. Su Muxin looked at Du Xiaofu, and a ripple flashed in her eyes without leaving a trace. She then turned around and stepped into the wormhole in the barren country, disappearing slowly. I'm also going back to the Great Luan sect. You go to Wutong Mountain. Be careful, Dongli Qingqing said to Du Xiaofu. Then she left the stone city and returned to the Great Luan sect. I also have to go back. There are some things I need to settle, Mo Tianxiao said to Du Xiaofu. Then he left the stone city. We are going to Wutong Mountain to play. Little Xingxing was especially excited. Whoosh whoosh. After a while, several figures walked into the wormhole and left the stone city. This time, Du Xiaofu did not bring many people to the Phoenix clan on Wutong Mountain. There were only Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, Du Xiaoqing, and Little Tiger. The group walked out of the wormhole of Tianhuang mainland and headed to Wutong Mountain. Wutong Mountain, where the Phoenix clan was. Legend had it that after the Dragon Phoenix tribulation, there was a great tribulation of the world. Later on, the dragon god and the supreme expert who sealed the evil demon descended and stopped the great tribulation of the world. From then on, the dragons returned to the four seas while the Phoenix clan rested on Wutong Mountain. Wutong Mountain was actually not a mountain. Compared to a mountain, it was many times larger. Wutong Mountain was as famous as the Sanlu Kyushu. It was definitely not much smaller than the Sanlu Kyushu. Legend had it that Wutong Mountain was a treasure land. Unfortunately, no one dared to barge into Wutong Mountain. Even the top experts of the world did not dare to enter Wutong Mountain rashly. That was because it was the habitat of the Phoenix clan. The Phoenix clan was an ancient clan. It was much older than the 9 great families. One could imagine its foundation. Although Wutong Mountain did not appear, no one had dared to underestimate the Phoenix clan since ancient times. Since ancient times, the Phoenix clan of Wutong Mountain would occasionally send young disciples out to train. They had all left behind a reputation that could shock the world. Whoosh whoosh that you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.